All right. Take these off. Sure this one's working. Yeah, looks like we're good. Looks like we're good. What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the weekend, almost the end of the weekend, which kind of sucks. I don't know about you guys, but I wish it would last longer. Set this over here. Don't need this microphone. Oh, yeah. Let me see here. Oops. Oh, we're good. The green curtain. What's going on there, Renee? John Beck's in the house. Kenneth Lair's in there. Doughboy UK. What's going on? Good to see you in there. Jason's in there. Char, what's going on there, Char? Good to see you in there. Libby Terrell as well. Hello. Mark Wolf. Geoff's in there. Let's see. Like I said, another Renee. Van Oosterhout is in there. What, Piot? What's going on? Mike Hoover, what's happening? Good to see you in there. Tony, thank you very much for your support. Hello, Chris. How are you doing? I'm doing fine. I hope you're doing well there, Tony. Like I said, everybody, welcome to the latter part of the weekend. Wish it was longer, like I said. 3-4 days would be sweet. Doesn't usually work that way, does it? Mr. Juntler, good afternoon. What's happening? Greetings from Michigan, Richard Elliston. Good to see everybody in there. All right. The Workout Artist 216. Good day, Chris. Glad to see you. Good to see you in there as well. Bush Corey. What's happening, Bush Corey? Good to see you, Chris. And all members, hope you're all well. Doing very well, thank you. All right. Just literally got back. Took my youngest daughter out for her birthday. 22 years old. And stuffed myself like a pig when I had to walk from here to like Hawaii just to burn it off. But it was awesome nonetheless. Marilyn Fraser. Hi, Chris from England. Hello, Marilyn. How are you? GP. Hello, Chris. What's your normal day job? Always wondered that. Tell me to get lost if I'm being too... No, actually, I work at a big supermarket type thing. Big supermarket chain. Basically, stock person. Taking everything off the trucks, putting in the warehouse, loading on the floor, putting on the shelves, all that kind of good stuff. Basically ordering all that good stuff. So, oh yeah. Completely physical, which is really nice. Not really. A little sarcasm there. Especially as you get a little older, your body's going, please stop. I've done nothing but manual labor all my life. So I was a tool setter for 13, almost 14 years, basically setting up machines. Everything from small machines right up to like twice the length of a pickup truck. Setting up stuff like that. So yeah, you tend to beat up your body a little bit. But that's all right, though. Studios Realism is in the house. She's doing very well as well. It's good to hear. Robert S. Hey, Chris. Good to see you from PA. All right. Pennsylvania's in the house. Mike, what did you send that? Did you send it to, you said, excuse me, I sent a photo to you of a huge metal claw coming out of the crater in your latest video. Looks like a docking class. Okay. Was that my email? Because I just checked that. And I didn't check my Facebook. I think I checked it real quick, went on there, and of course I didn't have really much time. So forgive me, guys, if I didn't get right to your stuff. like I said, I've been trying to get on there. I know a couple of you guys said, hey, man, you asked me to resend something. I did take a quick look, brief, but I will look at them, all of it once I get off this. So I will definitely be checking it out. TR3B, Chris, remember me? Yes, absolutely. Fish Tropic, thumbs up. Oh, yeah. Slayer Chalk, what's up, mate? What's going on? Good to see you in there. Emperor 6979. Wow, the live stream is an hour early tonight. Did the clocks go back in the USA? Nope. Not yet. We've been doing it at 5 o'clock. Of course, that will be changing soon, because how they do change the clocks and stuff like that. But we'll still try to. I know in the UK it's different. They turn at different times. I forget exactly when. I had a buddy of mine living over there in England, and he said they turn the clocks back different time. So that ought to be extra screwy when we change ours, right? All right, the workout artist is in Cleveland, Ohio. What's going on, neighbor? Good to see you in there. Maurice Boomer. Hey, what's up, Space Explorers? Brett Butterfield is in the house too, Brett. Oh, this thing just jumped up on me. I love that when it does that. Huh. Said you couldn't find me, Mike. Huh. Couldn't find you on my Facebook and we're friends. Yeah, that is odd. Doesn't make much sense, does it? Yeah. I would have thought you'd have no problem finding me. I'll be able to message me or something. Andrew Haberman, what's going on? Canada is in the house. Mimi reacts. Greetings from Germany. Well, glad to have you in there, Mimi. Let me go ahead and make this a little bigger because this usually gives me crap. Yep, a little too big. Do it that way. Fortnite 247 pinned your comment. Love this show. Well, I love when you guys are here, man. And in fact, I was saying that. I said, we got to go ahead and get out. And like I said, I took my daughter out for birthday and stuff like that. I said, well, make sure we get back in time because I want to do the show, It's like a good ending to the weekend, if you know what I mean. It's awesome. John Lemon in the Sour Tones. Hey, Chris, what's going on there, John? Lemon in the Sour Tones. God of all Saiyans. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right. Forgive me if I'm not. What's popping in essay? What's going on? Good to see you in there. Yes, exactly, Libby. November 3, the clocks go back. That's what I'm saying, and I think it's different in the UK. You guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but yeah, I mean, Tuklurin Vadasi, forgive me if I'm messing that up. It's not every day I see these kind of names or whatever, You said Europe is also changing, but I know I think it's a little bit different in timing. Alan Pope, hello from Edmonton. What's going on? Yeah, it's a little bit later for us right now, TR3B. You said gets dark at 5:30 to 6 here in the UK. It's right around maybe an hour later than that. It's about 6:30-ish here. Gets dark, give or take. But yeah. Doughboy UK, have you got a social media page we can all hang out on and post pics in the week? Just a thought. Yeah, I mean, you guys can go to my Facebook page, my Mars Anomalies Facebook page, and you can leave messages or photos, things like that. A lot of people do that. I'll get back to them, say, usually they're just asking, hey, what do you think of this? And, of course, I'll talk with them and stuff like that. Or sometimes you guys will suggest different things to look at and maybe perhaps do a video on. So you guys are pretty instrumental in doing stuff like that, which is awesome. TR3B, it's depressing here. Depressing, huh? Yeah, when you get that shorter daylight time, it kind of sucks. And it always seems like wintertime or whatever just lasts like forever. You ever notice that? Although I have to admit, this year, the summer felt like it dragged on because, I mean, I don't know about you guys, but it's been like 90s to 100 here all summer long. It's not like it dipped to 78. 82, 85. I mean, it was like 90 plus all year. Well, all summer, I should say, all season. So yeah, it was quite hot. Not too bad, but it was pretty toasty. Tony La Jolla said, my baby girl woke up. Gotta go. Hope to be back in a few. If not, have a nice stream. Well, hopefully you'll be back, Tony. If not, well, I'm glad you stopped in. Tommy Wiley, what's going on there, brother? Good to see you in there. Say hi, Chris, and from cold, dark, rainy Scotland. It was actually rainy here yesterday, and when you get that kind of really cold rain, it sucks. Let's just put it that way. Paul McDermott, shout out from Aberdeen, Scotland. What's going on around in Scotland? Good to see you in there. Mike Hoover, you said great work lately too, bud. Well, I appreciate that. I don't know if did you guys all catch the third video I put on my new lunar anomalies and beyond page? I put a new moon video on there. I think it was Friday I put it on. So I had one like Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. I'm going to try to kick it to at least 3 a week. Every now and then I get somebody who's kind of heard about it, like they get mad at me. Oh, how come you only do like a couple videos a day? And when these other channels are doing 2 to 3 a day, it's like, well, I work. I mean, if I wasn't doing anything, one, if I'm retired, yeah, it would make sense, right? You'd have all kinds of time to whack these things out. If I wasn't working for whatever reason, that would make sense. You know what I mean? But I work, man, just like all of you. I got a job just like everybody else. I'm no different, no, not special. I got to work like everybody else. And, so I'm still trying to get out at least, I was doing 2, I'm trying to do 3. Because I have a lot of stuff. I still have that other Mars one I was telling you about with that Gigapan. I still have another moon video. They're both on both computers, ready to be kicked out. So be, watching out for those as well. So yeah, quite a few coming up. Turklerin, the DC, yeah, greetings from Mars. Awesome. Man, you got great internet. Kane mostly, you said, thanks, Chris. I love the videos. Keep doing what you do. Well, I appreciate that. I mean, I don't know about you guys now. If you haven't seen the latest, moon video, just let me know. I'll give you the direct link to it, or just find your way over to Lunar Anomalies and Beyond page. But man, I'll tell you what. The more you look at some of these things, they're absolutely insane. You got things that look like they're just completely normal sitting on the surface of the lunar surface, and then you got some that look like just like boom, crashed and fell over. Or it was through some kind of war thing or whatever. I mean, just absolutely crazy stuff. And when you see it like in a distance, like in other words, you're looking sideways into these things, you get this kind of weird, eerie feeling like, man, if you could be on that moon, it'd probably scare the hell out of you. And I said that in my last video. I said, guys, maybe this is the reason why they're not telling everybody, because some of the stuff that you see, can you almost envision yourself there? And it gives you that kind of weird, eerie feeling. And then we think, the Apollo mission guys came back and, it's no wonder they acted the way they did, right? Moon Man, hello from Istanbul. What's going on? Man, you guys are coming from all over the world today, man. Tommy P, I get that a lot. I mean, some people are really adamant about it. You said, could the Mars photos be all taken on Earth? I'm sorry. Well, it's supposed to be Devon Island, and they are just messing with us. No, not at all. I know you'll see that video out there that shows like this little rover with a camera on it, and it shows the truck there. It says NASA on it. These are all testing grounds. This is not secret stuff, guys. Devon, I think Greenland, Devon Island, they got on several different areas. And if you notice, most of these areas are extreme. In other words, they're either very hot or very cold. And they do this for a reason. They take these instruments out there. They'll take the rovers out there and just put them through a like a rigorous test, and they put them through hell, some of these things, and they do it purposely. Now they have their own little, they call it the Mars yard, and I think it's in California. They'll do it over there, and they'll put like these good sized boulders like the top of your torso, and basically the size of that, and if not bigger, and have this thing crawl over it and stuff like that. And they have their own test yard too. That's nothing. It's not even a secret. People are like, oh my God, you wouldn't believe what I just found on the internet. It's like, what? What'd you find? oh, I found out they're actually faking all it. No, it's a testing ground, and NASA makes no secret about it. If that was the case, would they even let that out at all? No, of course not. 786 Auto, good to see you in there. Greetings from Poland vacation. Oh, nice. If you're on vacation, that's sweet. Let me see. Let me just do this real quick. See if I can jump on here. Let me do it this way. It'd be easier. I may screw this up, guys. So because I'm going to try to access my other page, and if I do, I don't hope this doesn't screw up the live stream. But if it does, I'll be right back on. So don't worry about that. What I'm going to do is go ahead and drop the link to you guys. You can check it out. All right, here's the link to the new page, Lunar Anomalies and Beyond. If you haven't subscribed, please do so. Go to it. And, of course, hit the bell, the notifications bell, so you guys will be abreast of anything that comes out. And but check out the latest video. Pretty cool stuff, man. And like I said, a lot of people, when they starting to see this, they go, man, I think you're right. Just some of the stuff we see on this moon is crazy, man. It's just like, darn well, if you were there, you'd be like, okay, what's this doing here? And if I was one of those astronauts, I think I probably would have acted the same way, right? Claudia with a chance of UFOs. Damn, this is early this week. No, same time. We get on at 5 o'clock. 5 o'clock. Donnie Fisk, yeah, I'm with you on that, man. You said I'd love to see full disclosure rather, in our lifetime. With the light speed advancement of technology, they won't be able to keep it hid forever. Yeah, and that's true. At some point, I think this is the reason why they're like, well, NASA's trying to leak this stuff out even more and more. They're trying to give us more and more tidbits to go on and stuff like that. And like I said, I'm just waiting for the day. It's going to be coming soon where they're going to either show some kind of small Martian life, like small, maybe brush or little, bushes, whatever, just blades of grass, if anything. I'm just waiting for that. They'll show first microorganisms that are alive. Then they'll move up to that. They've already said there's water there, so it's just a question of time. Mark Rimmer, you put on hi from Adelaide, South Australia. That's good to see you in there, Mark. Or Gamma, hi. What's happening? Oh, yeah. Studious realism you put on there. We can't cure normal. Someday we will have to accept reality. Believe me, we don't have anything ETs would want. We are safe if we don't blow us up. And that's true. I mean, because like I said, I forgot who it was that wrote that, but they claim that, if you have, the civilization gets so large to the point where it overextends its bounds, meaning or just overgrows the planet, it literally will implode. And who knows if that didn't happen to Mars at some point, or something, they had a war with somebody else or whatever the reason was. But it's definitely a catastrophic event happened on Mars. I mean, just from the evidence that we're seeing, right? And, different information, whistleblowers coming out, so on and so forth. So, and the same thing seems to be, what do you guys think about the moon? Do you guys think that same thing happened there where it looked like there was wars and stuff like that from what we're seeing in these photos, right? And, a lot of these ancient civilizations claim there's wars on, both the moon, Mars, and so on and so forth. So what do you guys think of that? I think that's absolutely true, at least in my book. That's my opinion. I'm not saying everybody else has to go by that, but that's the way I feel about it, judging by what we've been seeing, right? Supreme Ruler, what's going on? Good to see you. Hello, folks. You all talk about the Samsung satellite that dropped in someone's backyard. I heard about that. What was up with that? Was it a satellite that dropped in people's backyard? That is pretty crazy. Mike Hoove, you put on there that Neptunian 237 and uranium 237 that's been found. There are nuclear byproducts never been found naturally. Well, Xeon 129, things like that. That stuff that's not natural. Although they do say it's some kind of weird byproduct of, volcanic kind of activity. And I'm going, yeah, I don't buy that. I just don't buy that. But yeah, The Xenon 129 was the thing that got it for me. I'm thinking to myself, yeah, that's not natural. Come on now. Willies, hello all. What's going on? Good to see you there. Hannah in Wonderland, we will never get full disclosure, even if they tell us some things. They will never tell us everything. Oh, I agree. I totally agree. It's going to be leaked out by like stuff like this, like different sources on there, like whistleblowers, so on and so forth. I think that's the way we're going to find this stuff, right? Um, yeah, that's what we're gonna how we're gonna find it. Yeah, I agree, Hannah. You said all they're doing is giving us enough to appease our curiosity, and I think you're right about that. Photography like magic. He said, imagine if the astronauts were ordered to go into one of these structures to check it out. I bet they shit themselves. And you know what? And I guarantee they did, because here's the thing. Again, they planned this on Earth. You know, they did, of course. And they said, okay, gave them a briefing, say, this is what you're going to see. Now, of course, these guys are probably like, oh, okay, yeah, no big deal. Now, I would imagine they'd have to show them pictures of this stuff, right? They'd have to brief them on everything that's up there. This is where you're going to be going. This is what you're going to find in this area, so on and so forth. Now, if you remember correctly, the Apollo 11 didn't land where they were supposed to land. They overshot it by, what was it, like almost a half a mile to a mile? So when they got out, they weren't in the same spot they were supposed to be in. So, can you imagine getting out and looking at this stuff if you walked in it? Because right off the bat, you'd be frightened, as far as I'm concerned, because you'd be like, okay, this is not ours. If it was ours, you'd go, no big deal. But man, that you'd think, oh wow, that's incredible that we put this here. But if you didn't, you go, okay, is there something still in this place? Are we going to die going into this? What's the deal here? It's hard to tell. And I think this is the reason why they came out freaked out, to be honest with you. MC Gamer, thank you for your support. Very much appreciated. Have a bear on me, Chris. Keep up the great work. I appreciate you. Yeah, I mean, listen, wow. Every time I see this moon stuff, it's just crazy. What we're seeing on Mars. Clearly, I actually had a couple of people tell me, oh, like that, when I showed you that weird looking rock that had like that little transparent, like on the right hand side on the end. And then it had what looked like that black box with the silver end to it. People are like, oh, it's a shadow. I'm thinking to myself, what is wrong with these people that they can't see this stuff? It's clearly right there in front of your face, and they think it's a rock or a shadow. I'm going, really, people? Wow. I can see this thing almost plain as day. You don't even have to enhance the damn thing, and it's right there. So even if it wasn't an actual box, let's suppose, but it's a manipulation over something then, because either way, that rock that thing was supposedly leaning up against, it looked like this weird oval kind of shape with that almost like transparent end where, okay, we can see that's been manipulated. You can see that went over that. Okay, so whatever the thing is, regardless, they're hiding something in the photo. Why isn't the rest of the photo like that? So they're hiding something in it. Clearly they are. What is it that they're hiding? People have to understand that too. It's like, well, it's just shadows or what. It's like, whatever. That's all you can say, right? Donnie Fizz, thank you, sir, for your support. Everyone check out the deleted Cronkite footage. Yes, I checked that out. Somebody had suggested that to me. And where it was, I think it was you, Donnie, wasn't it? Was you that posted it or told me about? Yeah, I think you dropped the link. One of you guys dropped the link. And what they did was, and in fact, I was going to grab that screenshot and see if we can enhance it, because you've seen how like overly exposed, or the way they had the aperture open on that camera where everything was super bright. And but you could clearly see there's like blocks and structures in there. Unreal. Okay, it was you, Donnie. Okay. As soon as you said that, I was like, I'll be damned. If you can, Donnie, drop the link on here, because I want people to see that. And it's really, because it's so bright, it's hard to actually see this. It really is, guys. But when they do it, you see what he says, right? They tell him, all right, you're up in the sky, because he pans to the back and it ends up in the sky, and then they bring it back down, and then it's super, super bright, and then it kind of comes down really blurry, which makes no sense. I think they were taking that stuff out of focus purposely, just in case we've seen anything. But you can see things off the surface, literally like weird things sitting on the surface, and they literally, yeah, they like I said, they had the aperture way open on that damn thing to let in a lot of light. You can just see the way that is. Pretty cool stuff. John Devon, you said, I seen two and still looking with my new 30 times mag. There you go. That's what I'm talking about. Make sure you don't go in too much, though, because you know what happens, right? You can actually see the actual screen itself, and I don't mean the photo in the screen. I mean the actual screen, the actual screen makeup of itself, because usually have most of my LCD, so, or at least, you know what I mean, the screen itself. You can actually see the screen itself. You don't want to do that. Supreme Ruler, yeah, that's pretty good. Imagine all the an alien rather, popping up on the wrong gun-toting person. Now imagine the flip side. Yeah. I mean, they might, like I said, if I was up there and I saw that stuff, I think I'd be freaked out, especially knowing it's not yours. Because like right off the bat, you get over there and you go, okay, guys, look at that structure. Now, I think it's this PR footage they gave to the public where shows them like playing on the moon buggy and all that. And that might have been where people are saying, well, that was all fake footage. And it could very well be. Because think about it. Why are these guys super happy on the surface and everything else? They're playing, they're laughing, they're joking, everything's good. They're kicking up dust and everything else with the lunar buggy and everything else. And then all of a sudden they come back. And like I said, they look like they lost their parents in a plane crash or something. Makes no sense. So either that was fake footage purposely for the PR in case they didn't make it, or it's just to cover up what they really were looking at. And because, I mean, it just doesn't make sense. That's the only logical explanation you can come up with. As simple as that, right? It's pretty cool, but kind of scary at the same time. Supreme Ruler probably scared the shit out of the alien. Well, that could very well be, but Dan Coleman, Chris, hi. What's going on, Dan? Good to see you in there. Yeah, John. Yeah, exactly. They were definitely freaked out, no doubt. Okay, Mike, I see that. Would you just send me a messenger? I'll definitely check it out. Fiaz, Bull, I'm not sure I'm pronouncing that. Hi, what's going on? Good to see you in there. I thought about that, Tommy P. Yeah, I absolutely thought about that. You put on there, you should create an expose with your best work and contact some media outlets. That's not actually a bad idea. And I would love to actually do that. I'd actually like to do another show where it had, where I did that show with the Russian TV show. It's kind of like an Ancient Aliens, only in Russian. It was pretty cool to do that. And you guys can find that video. It goes back a little bit, a couple years back, but it's actually in there. Alien Tenno, we humans can't be mentally repressed forever. We are evolving. It's impossible to hide ETs from us. And I think a lot of people are aware of that anyway, right? I mean, at some point, people are seeing them. I mean, whether it's with their own cameras, they're seeing the Pentagon footage, so on and so forth. Now, some people say, well, this may very well be, our own crafts. And it's kind of like, even some of the military didn't even know it. In other words, it's like top brass kind of stuff, and the actual military didn't even know it existed. So I've been looking into some of that. I got a friend of mine. She's been sending me some information. So I'm going to definitely be checking out that a little bit more. Yeah, Fiaz. Yeah, you put on the millions of galaxies, but no aliens. Yeah. I don't believe that for a minute. Absolutely. Poor Godden, 51 likes. Hit that thumbs up button. Wham, bam, slam it. Cronkite started describing a big square. Yep. Warehouse building in the background as well. Wild. Cut the feed, LOL. Absolutely. Yep. And I heard that. Is the way he said, yeah. And then they were telling him to, okay, you're up in the sky, pan down. Philip Wethington. What's going on? Good to see you in there. He said you would like to see it. Did you actually find that? Donnie, did you actually find that link? Am I just not all the way down to the bottom yet and haven't found it? Kenneth Leah, thank you, sir, for your support as always. Show Chris some support by hitting that like button. Chris, your work is amazing. Again, thank you, sir. Appreciate you your support, and definitely appreciate it there, right? Noodles, you said, does anyone else, by the way, good to see you there, Noodles. Does anyone else think Photoshop was created to allow the smart folks to decode the public pics slowly? Well, like I've always said, it just seems it's almost like they're leaving like breadcrumbs, right? It seems like the picture's there, people go, it's just a bunch of mumbo jumbo, keep moving on. But the people who really want to know, it's almost like they're saying, listen, the people that really want to know are really going to check these photos out. They're going to find it for themselves. Those are the people that are going to be enlightened, so to speak, right? You're going to definitely be awakened by all this, and you're going to be able to actually pull the stuff apart and find it yourself. I think that's what they're doing. I think they actually, I think the more people look into this stuff, they're going to find it themselves. Now, whatever they may call it, like I call some things a certain things, what I believe it kind of looks like, and then other people have their own different opinions, which is awesome. I don't mock anybody for that. Unless of course they're being belligerent or something like that. I just go next. And that's not my subscribers, of course. That's all these other transients that come through. But you have people actually ripping these photos apart. And then when I show photos too, and you're going, man, I see that and so much more. Some of you guys commented about my last one about Mars, what looked like that weird structure part, machine part, or whatever it is, way back in the background. And on the left-hand side, you guys are saying something about looked like a UFO that had like a shiny surface or some kind of weird object sitting off just to the left of it. And you guys are right. I looked at that. I was like, yeah, I looked at it earlier when I first did the video, but see, I was kind of like focusing on that bigger object at the time, because I try to focus on things that people will see easily. Some people say, hey man, you missed so much in there. Not really. Two things. I don't want to have like a 45-minute video, and two, I don't. I want people to be able to see the stuff, with ease. So I try to get the ones that really pop right out, right? So it's not that I don't see them, and sometimes I do it purposely, just so you guys will see things, and of course you'll investigate the stuff yourself, which is awesome. So yeah, but I think you're right, Noodles. I absolutely. TR TR3B, you hear about the 30 mummies that were found recently? No, I sure haven't. No. Anybody else hear about that? Oh, I think you were telling me about that, Tommy. You said, did you get the photos of Mars? I sent you with an enhancement showing structures and artifacts. I uploaded it with a Dropbox. Trying to remember. I do actually have it in a Dropbox. I think you asked me about that, and I do have one. Trying to remember if I have it in. It's been so long since I've been using it there, Tommy, to be truthful with you. I'll have to check that out. Did you send it to my email as well? Because, I like to check it out. Noodles like 67. Talking about 67p, or are you talking about, what do you call it, number 60? Oh, I know what you're saying. Okay. Yeah, you're right. You're right. Okay. You said search it on YouTube. I'll have to do that. Supreme Rule, you said WikiLeaks maybe for the Cronkite stuff. It's actually on there. Like I said, I don't know if Donnie even sent it there, but because I'd like to just pass it on to you guys. I did see it myself, and I'd have to go back. Let me see if I can go back and see it, because I should have it in my search history. I'll just go into that, see what we got here. See if I can even find this thing. Or maybe I didn't watch it on this computer. Might have been my other one, which doesn't do me a darn bit of good, right? And like I said, you guys can look up that the title is called "The Drill We Sent to Mars," and it's by Smarter Every Day. And that's the one that's talking about the engineer that worked on the drill, because it's like a hammer drill, right? You can check that out. And he talks about an actual water cycle on Mars in Gale Crater. So it is legit. Yeah, it must have been on the other computer, because I cannot find it here. That sucks. No, I don't have it on here, guys. Okay. Yeah, I got a mic. In fact, it binged in here. That's why I said, all right, I'll check them out in a little bit. Alien Hunter's in the house. What's going on, Alien Hunter? Good to see you in there. Keep up the good work, by the way. I'll click the link called Alternate Memories. Earthquake. Oh, because I'm moving the bench here. So I got to move my legs and I end up moving this whole thing. Yeah, Google Walter Cronkite sees building on moon. Then click the alternate memories link. Yeah, I mean that was actually pretty cool. And I seen something like that before where they panned with the actual camera, and I think it was the one actually on the lunar rover or buggy, call it what you like. And they went over and you can actually see the square like structure, like cube type thing. Then they harp and pan back off. That was pretty cool. Bob Hope, you said, are hybrids real? Truthfully, I don't know. They claim that they are now, and I know a lot of the our government's experimenting with that. I just watched a video just recently. It was on Contact in the Desert, I think it was, and it had a guy talking about that and how they're like in this. I'm trying to remember what base it was. I'll think of it in a second, but down in lower levels, they said they got hybrids and they got other aliens and so on and so forth. So now, whether they are or not, you don't hear a whole lot about that. You do hear once in a while they talk about it. So I don't know. But it would be interesting to see that, or scary as hell, one of the two, right? Noodles, you said, good, cool, Chris. I got to get a good version of Photoshop. Yeah, I use Photoshop CS6 Pro, which is pretty good. I've had it for years, so it's actually works pretty good for me. I like to get something a little bit better too if I could. So we'll just have to see what happens with that. But it works pretty darn well for me. Hannah, you put in there. I think it's amazing that there is a community out there of us who are awake to the things that are out in our skies and space, refusing to believe the things that the mainstream dictates to us. Well, that's the thing. I mean, they could steer the populace, right, to anything they want you to. And if you watch news, long enough, you'll believe everything that goes on. And, to the people who want to think outside the box, and I'm not saying go totally radical and, oh my God, fear mongering stuff and all kinds of stuff. And, you want to think outside the box and not be spoon fed. This is the reason why when I do my videos, I say, guys, do your own research, come up with your, look this stuff over yourself. I'm not trying to beat the stuff into your skull. I'm just saying, listen, this is what I see. It kind of looks like this. What do you guys think it is too? Because I want your input. It's not about saying this is what it is because I said so. No, it'll sound like the mainstream news. That's not the way we roll here. And I like the idea of everybody's like, oh no, Chris, it kind of looks a little different like this to me. And I'll look at it over and I'll be damned if they're not right. It's all about learning. It's a learning curve, right? James Cregan, good to see you there, man. Chris, did you notice that in the last few videos you have, there seems to be a lot of craft of some kind, top of the range videos from you, Top Speed all week. Just checking in with you. Well, I appreciate it, James. Good to see you in there as always, and your comments on the videos as well. Yeah, I mean, somebody actually said, hey, you know what? I don't know why you're actually doing that. In fact, Alien Hunter's in here too. He said he mentioned him, and he says, "Well, Alien Hunter's got like 5,000 videos under his belt. He does all of these and stuff like that." I said, "Well, a lot of people have gone over these moon videos, right, or moon photos, and everybody's got their own different way of enhancing. And I'm sure Alien Hunter will feel the same way. He does probably the top work he can do, and I feel I'm the same way. Everybody's got their own way of and their own knack of bringing it out. And my argument was, what about the new people who have never seen the first moon video?" Or photo, for that matter. I mean, how many people can say, oh, yeah, I've seen every photo out there of the moon that could possibly be? I don't know about you. Before I started doing it, I didn't have a clue how many there were, to be truthful with you. until you get into these things, you go, oh my God, look how many damn, so this is the reason why I started doing systematically, just starting doing a whole bunch of these, because there's a lot to be seen in here. There really is. And like I said, I know a lot of people that do anything that's got to do with the moon. And the guy said, well, you're kind of beating him to death because, everybody's doing the same moon videos. It's like, well, it's not really the same in a sense, because if you're, I got my own knack of enhancing. Alien Hunter, as well as other people, also have their way of enhancing, and it brings out these things, and they feel that they're doing the best job, like I feel I'm doing. And that's what it comes out to. And people, like I tell them, listen, go check out Alien Hunter stuff. He does great work. And any other channel I feel is doing great work to bring these things out, I don't have any problem with that. You know why? Because it's all about getting the truth out. And that's what the bottom line is. Any other channel that argues with you is just being selfish. Because to me, it just seems like if somebody did the same exact photo I did and say, Chris, I did your photo, but you know what? I actually enhanced it further. You know what? Good for you. Good for you. Because it's all about getting the truth out. And if you could bring out more stuff than I am, God bless you. That's what it's all about. I don't care. I don't go nuts over that. Oh my God, I can't believe this. This guy did this and, or he's doing the same moon video I'm doing. What the hell? Why would I care? You know what I mean? I think it's great people are doing it. The more, the merrier. That thing just jumped up on me. Simon Devine. Hi to everyone on here. Glad to not feel alone in all this. Nope, you're definitely not. There's a whole lot of us have been doing a lot of researching, pulling these photos apart. And I don't know about you guys, be honest. When you first started looking at these moon photos, I don't care if it's Mars even, you're looking at these photos and you think, I ain't going to find anything in here. People are saying they're finding some crazy stuff in here. I think these people are on dope. I mean, seriously, let's be honest. So then you start looking at the stuff more and more and you go, well, wait a minute. Why am I seeing this particular thing in the photo? Why am I seeing the same thing this guy showed? Why am I seeing these things on the moon or on this planet? It simply doesn't make sense. But then it takes a while for your mind to get wrapped around because, again, like I think it was Hannah that pointed out, we're going by the news or the TV or whatever, pointing out there's nothing going on. There's nothing on a cold, dry, barren planet. There's nothing there. And they keep echoing it. It's not. And when you start to do your own research, you have a problem wrapping your mind around it because you're so used to being beaten into your skull that there's nothing there to see, move on. And then when you finally look at this stuff, oh my God, it's awesome. Studios Realism, you said, can I get a shout out? Yes, you can. Check out her channel, Studios Realism, Earth, Moon, Mars, and more. In fact, she's been doing a lot of videos of mine and I think others where she'll do her own enhancements, which is good for her for doing that. She may find out more stuff as well. If you can, Studios Realism, drop your link down below. I'll go ahead and pass along to anybody who wants to check the channel out as well. Kenneth Proctor, he said 133 people watching and only 49 likes. What's up with that? Smash that like, people. Yeah, it's getting up there. We got 141 viewers now. Smash it. Yeah, it's kind of cool. I've had people tell me this, and you guys just echoed the same thing I was just thinking. Where a lot of people, some people come to me and they go, hey, Chris, is it weird, to believe that we're the only ones out there? Or is it weird to believe that, I found these things in these photos, this, that? No, not at all. And I think this is the reason why a lot of people like communities like this, because there's other people do these as well, right? And so they do that and they just feel part of that and they don't feel like they're the only one. And you shouldn't. You know why? Because you're thinking outside the box. You're looking at this stuff. And I know people who scrutinize photos and they said to me, listen, Chris, I looked at it the first time, thought I was nuts. Looked at it again. It's still the same thing. I keep seeing these things like certain shapes or whatever, or structures or whatever it may be. And my God, I'm totally blown away. Good for you. That's the idea. Because you're using your own brain and you're researching it. That's what it's all about. That's exactly what it's all about. You don't need me to do that. You guys are perfectly, got your own brains to do that, your own points of view, and that's what it's all about. Like I said, there's a couple people I actually that tell me, man, we actually sit down as a family, just grab the popcorn and watch the videos, and I think that's awesome that they do that. That's why we try to keep it PG rated. Sometimes, when I get PO'd at somebody on there, I try to tell everybody, if you guys don't like profanity, because I don't know, I know some of you guys have gone back, many years with me, and I had another channel actually tell me that, I was copying his work, and not that recent debacle, but way back. This goes back X amount of 3 or 4 years ago at least. And, I actually told the people, talk about a temper I had. And I just tell people, listen, if you got children in the room, please ask them to leave. And if you don't like any kind of profanity, please leave. And then I just ripped into this guy um, because it was basically, made for him, right? This other person. So, but you're gonna have that. It is what it is. Oh yeah, James, exactly, man. That's exactly what I get. You have that. You said, oh, Chris, not being smart now, but this is your hangout and your videos and pictures, etc. So the hell with the doubters who are not willing to look before they decide. Oh, exactly. It's exactly what I feel. And a lot of times, when everybody starts off, like I said, my buddy Will rather. I like the way I combine those. He told me right out. He said, "Dude, when your channel starts to blow up, watch what happens. You're gonna get so many trolls. It's not even funny." And I'll be damned if he wasn't right. You have to expect that. Like I said, I think I told you that last time. There was a guy that said, "What do you say? How did he put it?" He says, "You can actually post a cure for cancer and you get thumbs down. It's a given. You gotta take the bad with the good. It is what it is." Um, Lee Palfrey, you said, sorry, I forgot to like. Well, as long as you remember now, it's like, bam. Um, yeah, Turklein, yeah. He said, no, no, Chris, not outside, but deeper inside the box. Alien Tenno, you says a lot about the state of our species when our so-called governments leave it to the underlings to educate themselves. Well, yeah, and let me see here. Miguel Santana, thank you, sir, for your support. Hello, good to see you in there. And Dark Mamba, hi, Chris from Transylvania. Oh, Transylvania in the house. Photography, light, and magic. The best way to handle trolls is ignore them. No, you know what's funny? Because I used to, at one time, I used to go, wow, man, listen to this crap these guys are giving me. Then I laugh at them now because it's like the time it takes them to type whatever, I just go, it takes like not even a split second, a blink of an eye to just get rid of it. Why? I don't even bother to read them. As soon as they start talking belligerent, I just go, next. Don't even bother. Not even worth it. Not even worth the time. Gito, be careful. They may burn you at the stake. Saying to Josh. Sandra Young, you said, hi, Chris, and everyone. Agree it takes time for our eyes and brains to get accustomed to the lunar scape. But suddenly with me, the penny dropped and I see so many anomalies without trying. That's what I'm saying. See, when you get your eyes adjusted to this, I said this because it took me a little bit of time too. It's like you kind of like, you're looking at the surface, well, I'm really not really seeing it. But then all of a sudden, it's kind of like you entrench yourself into this, entrench yourself, and just kind of like you're in it. And it's like, now you start to see these things because I think it's the size of these objects, because depending on how far they're from the lunar surface, right? So as okay, whether they're large, small, but then you start to see these little things and what look like little roads. And okay, now you can kind of judge how big these things may be. And then, like I said, the size of these craters, where I said in my last video on Lunar Anomalies and Beyond page, the last video, when you look at that, it literally, because these things could be any size. These could be like 20 feet across, a mile across, you don't know. So then it questions in your mind, is this possible that, how big is this object? And if this, crater is like a half a mile wide, oh my God, this thing must be huge. So, so you try to get a grasp on how big these things are, right? And it's tough to do that. Plug in my watch, it just vibrated saying, battery low. Shami Duda. Chris, my friend is big on the chemtrails conspiracy. He believes they they put in the atmosphere to stop people getting close to the truth and mind control a select a few. Yeah, I mean, from what I heard, and I don't know how true this is, but the people, I guess, when they're exposed to a lot of that, they said that they get this weird kind of like fibers under their skin, and that it's like itchy as hell, and it's like they literally open up. You can see like these weird fibers. Now I don't know how true that is because I haven't heard anything about that recently, but um, this stuff that they're spraying in the air could be a cocktail of anything that gives you cancer to other stuff. It's hard to tell. Now, again, pure speculation, but what's the point of doing it? It makes no sense. And you can tell the difference between a contrail and what do you call it, chemtrail, right? Contrails, they disappear. I mean, they literally, after a certain amount of time, but you can see it behind an airliner and you'll see it like kind of dissipate. It might be a certain distance away. And of course, these are just ice particles or crystals that are behind the engine, just hot exhaust going into cold air, ice crystals. And of course, then it just dissipates, right? But contrails don't do that. They literally just keep going and then they spread out widthwise. And next thing you know, it's blocking the sky up. So there's a difference between the two. Alien Tenno, you said, Chris, last video was to me the remnants of a settlement blown away by a nuclear blast, debris everywhere. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you guys have noticed this, but sometimes you can see stuff that's laying on the surface perfectly fine. And then all of a sudden you see something like just laid over on its side, like some things were okay. So it makes you wonder, were these things put there at certain times, different times? Like, in other words, something landed there, like that long oval thing, that tube type thing. Somebody said it might have been, it looks like something like a transport. Um, to me, it'd be like almost like a space tractor trailer, right? When the tractor will come and drop the trailer when it's delivering somewhere. It's almost like something like that. And it just landed there, left it there, and that was the end of it. And now some things look like they were there, brought there at a different time, and they're laid over on their side. Just weird, man. It's just, the more you see that stuff, it's just like, you try to figure out what was there first. Was it that thing? If that thing? Was there a war that took place? Why are these things like dilapidated? Why does it look the way it does? I don't know. Mr. Gossam, you said spray flu virus, make money. Well, that's a possibility. But here's the thing: a lot of times you get flu shots for the freebie, right? But either way, some people are going for cold medicine, going to this, or it's to weaken your immune system. Simply just weaken it. So that's not a good thing. Magellan's disease, as Jason pointed out. Like I said, it could be a cocktail and a host of garbage in this stuff, and they're just spraying it out. And it's to cut the population down. How do we know? Pure speculation, of course, but that's not the point. It's like it's something that you can, something to think about. And of course, it doesn't mean it's real. It's just something to think about, right? Josh D. Leister, you said, just put Josh D. or whatever. You said trolls are pathetic to pay attention to. Yeah, exactly. They're wasting their own time, to be truthful with you. Dieter Van Dorn, Center Greece, rather. Graz. Hey, what's going on? Good to have you in there. We got people all over the world today. Alien 10, the best way to handle trolls is to educate them and tell them that they're sucking the thumbs and not the only thing life has to offer. Exactly. Hannah says people will only see what's really there and even have to want to see only if they choose to. Each to their own. Personally, I can't imagine life without curiosity or need to expand my mind. Exactly. And like I said, I was always told, listen, if you haven't learned something new today, you stop growing. And I truly believe that. John Devon, you said I used to look at the pics, but now I see because I have become accustomed to how I see. Exactly. And again, once you see the stuff, it's hard to unsee it, right? Because now you got your eyes trained. As soon as you look at the photo, you know what to look for. It's like right there. And that's exactly what I do. Now it's like not even trying now. The idea is most of it for me is to enhance it to bring the stuff out. And when you do that, and now you guys come along, it's so easy to see it. Before it's kind of like, that's where I started. I'm like, man, I don't know if that is anything. Maybe it's nothing. Next, get rid of the photo. And then next day I'm gonna go back at it again and whoa, wait a minute. Why am I still seeing these kind of little things look like they're on pads and all kinds of other crazy stuff, right? And you start going, okay, get your eyes adjusted to that. Next thing you know, boom, now it's nothing to see it. Just it is what it is, right? Susan Ann, sorry I'm late for class. I hope you have a whole pass. Good to see you there, Susan. MC Gamer said, every time the Chinese release a new pic from the far side of the moon, I'm all over it with my magnifier because I know what to look for and see through their tricks. Thanks to you, Chris. And it's true, though. I mean, you can, if you notice just about all of those, like that one has said some kind of glass-like substance, the one that looks like it's up close, you can see like a divot in the ground. And supposedly it has that weird, like whitish square or rectangle, whatever it is, in that area. Look to the back. There literally has what looks like straight edges, like there's platforms or something right on the backside of that. Now, the new pictures, they're completely blocked. You can't see them at all, but they're there. Philip Wethington, watch live as a gigantic 3,000 foot wide asteroid zooms past Earth. This is a unique opportunity. Due to its size, the object will appear quite bright in the skies. And the sky flies past Earth at speeds around 25,000 miles per hour. Yeah, it's pretty interesting stuff. And that's the thing; these things are whizzing by. Now, that's why I always said that about the moon. You know, there's nothing to slow it down. You know, change its size. So why don't we see these other craters? Because they said that the moon gets bombarded constantly, right? If that's the case, why are they always perfectly round? Well, not perfectly round, but they come in straight, like almost like boom, coming directly straight at the moon lunar surface. Doesn't make any sense. You think these things would drag, something would drag across the surface and stuff, and you don't see a whole lot of that. Lee Palfrey, you put on their flu shots. I haven't had one for the last 30 years and never got the flu. Well, funny thing is, I was reading some kind of, there's a documentary or something about that. It was talking about how they literally had like a DNA from a person that was embedded in one of these things. And literally they would give it to everybody. And then, of course, they clone it or whatever, or just duplicate it. And then put it in these flu shots. Weird crap going on. Yeah. You know, when you get a cold, every time you get a cold, your body builds up an immune to it. Why do you need help from a shot? Now, I'm not saying that you shouldn't get it. If you feel you need to have it, you should get it. But, you know, people go, well, you know, every time I get it, I get the flu. And of course, the CDC will say, it's not true. That's not what that's not what happens. But it does happen. Everybody I know that gets it usually has some kind of cold or flu after. So I don't know about you guys if you had, you know, better luck, but I don't get them. You know, your immune system is there for a reason. It'll build immunity to that. And what most people don't understand is that when you get these shots, that doesn't mean it's for that particular strain. So in other words, let's say I'm the first person to get it. Okay. Well, they make some kind of, you know, like cure of whatever they put. So they give you the shot. Boom. It takes care of my my flu. But I've passed it on to 3 other people. Well, the strain's changed. It's altered itself. Well, now what, you know, they gave me a vaccine to that doesn't work for you. So on and so forth. So it's continually changing. They found this happen many times. So why get the first flu shot? Why even get one at all? Doesn't make any sense. Susan, you put on there, never ever had a flu shot in my whole life. Well, it's like, I think I had it when I was a child. My mom took me to get it. But other than that, nah. I've had colds, I've had flus, I've had everything else, and body will build up immunity to it. And you have a pretty, I mean, don't get me wrong, you still get colds, common sense, right? But as far as anything else, I mean, I'm getting colds. I don't care about getting a cold. And your immune system just gets stronger. Now, if you're up in your 70s or 80s, well, that may be a whole different ball game. But you know what I mean? Yeah. Sandra, you're right. You said I've only ever seen one video of a supposed meteor hitting the moon. It was an official, rather, NASA video, which wasn't conclusive, a probable view of viewing for me, rather. Now, I did see when one guy had put on there, and it looked like I said this last time. I think it was either last Hangout or the one prior to that, where you can literally see something coming in. It hit the moon, bounced, 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 and then off the other side it went. I'm like, what the hell? Now, if it come in, it's kind of like skimming a rock off the water, right? You can, so if it comes in a certain angle, it could probably do that. And if it's whizzing by there at 17 to 25, 30,000 miles an hour, very easy to do, right? So it can literally clear the moon in no time. And I've seen that one time, and I thought that was wild as hell. That's pretty neat. Starlight, I agree with you. He said, I refuse all flu shots. Don't trust them. And the same thing would, my doc would say the same thing. It would be like, oh, you getting the flu shot? Nope. Natural Spirit, you said there was life on Mars 1 million years ago. An outer body came into our solar system, hit one of Mars moons, the same moon, then came back and hit Mars where the giant canyon we call Valles Marineris. Yeah. Well, they claim that, but they don't. I mean, how do we know that it wasn't similar to our Grand Canyon? Because that's what they call it. They call it the Mars Grand Canyon, and it's basically the length and the width of the United States. In other words, you could take the west coast to the east coast of the United States and drop it right there. It's about the length of it. So it's pretty large. How do we know it wasn't like water worn, like ours got worn by water and everything else? I mean, how do we know? Now they did say that something may have hit the planet itself, and I'm okay with that. I'm perfectly fine with that, and that's a good possibility. It hit Mars, scraped across the surface, then exploded. 70% of all life on Earth came from Maldek and Mars. Yeah, I mean, well, again, then it goes with the theory of panspermia, right? Because if it did hit the planet Mars, all kinds of debris, and if it was life on that planet, which I strongly believe there still is, and there was back then it came to Earth, and here we go. So it would not surprise me. This is maybe a reason why we get these weird things that look a lot like we have here on Earth. Or if the civilization was on Mars first, is this the reason why we see the things that on Mars that we're doing now here on Earth? Either way, right? There you go. Yeah, strange skies. I heard the same thing. I said I heard it was cosmic lightning. I know. What was that theory or that channel that does that? To me, it's just like just because you can simulate that doesn't mean that's the cause, right? Because they literally had it in their laboratory where they had that see-through box, and they created with static electricity, and they made this weird shape in the sand and stuff like that, and they simulated what it looks like on Mars. Well, just because you can simulate it doesn't mean that's the case, right? Now, I'm not saying it didn't. I'm just saying, but they say, well, that's chances are that's the theory. I guess it's the closest one they've got, right? And it makes sense. But I'm not so sure that's the reason. Noodles, you said Valles Marineris is an oddly grand formation. It is, absolutely. Joshua Scott, you said, how come people like Tom DeLonge and entities like Gaia TV claim to bring out disclosure, and then we don't hear from them, or their material comes out watered down? Yeah, it's almost like they, like they get like okay, you're only allowed to put out so much kind of thing, right? Now my good friend Billy Carson's on there, and he just, he talks about everything in ancient civilizations, so on and so forth, and a lot of good educated stuff there. I'll watch that as well once in a while, just kind of just chill out, and watch it. Good stuff. And some of it's the real deal, and some of it, I'm not so sure about. I'm not talking about his work. I'm talking about other people's stuff on there as well. And it's like you kind of sift through it, and does it make sense to you? Does it not? You don't just believe everything you hear. At least I try not to. So you got to ask yourself: does it make sense? Is it, is it logical? So on and so forth. Yeah. Sandra, you're probably right about that. That would be interesting to see if because they still get this seismometer on there, right? You said, I bet the moon echoed for weeks after the meteor bounced off this big metal ball. And you're probably right. I bet that thing just boom, just kept going. Maybe that's how they figure out how many times this thing's been hit too, right? Let's say it gets hit 3 or 4 times a week. Maybe that's how they can figure it out. MG toe, yeah, cold is a flu. True, yeah. I mean, but it's like full blown, right? Now you can get a simple cold and it's not even a big deal. But some of them, you get the flu, you're throwing up and all that other good stuff. So either way you look at it, your body will build an immunity. So why do you need the shot to do that? I look at it this way. It's like, I've had colds. I was sick when I was younger. I had like a flu, some kind of bug for like almost a freaking week. And that's what you want. You know what I mean? You don't want it because it's miserable. But I'm saying as far as like your immune system gets stronger and stronger, right? It's okay to have a little simple cold. Everybody can get away with that. But when you got a flu, it's a little hard to go to work with that. Jason McVeigh said the scar on Mars resembles an electrical burn. Yeah, it's true. It does. Yeah, Valerie Hackbarth. Yeah, watched Billy yesterday at a live watch party. He's always very interesting to listen to because he talks and lays it all out. That's what I like about it. Yeah, he will literally break it down for anybody if it's kind of vague and you're like, well, I'm not sure what he means by that. He literally will actually break it down for people, which is cool. And yes, that's what it was. Light green, yeah, Thunderbolt project. But yeah, he does bring out a lot of good stuff. He's very educated in that stuff. In fact, he's gone to these countries and gets the stuff, firsthand from either these shamans from these ancient civilizations or these people are in the know. In fact, he'll get a lot of times he'll get like a tour guide that's like separate just to him, and he'll pay a little bit extra money, get a little extra, what's the word I want to use? Treatment, like brought into some of the parts of the Egyptian pyramids sometimes. Yeah, you can actually do that too. Yeah, Noodles, you said so glad Insomnia team is back. Yeah, he's back. He's rocking it. I don't think he's put on as many as he has been, though, has he? I know he's out there still rocking it, which is good. Puts out some interesting stuff, so yeah. Mark Remy, you put on there funny when have a flu shot and actually get the strain of flu after the fact. Then the doctors then say you didn't have the flu shot and may have been much worse. Yeah, I know. Yeah, yeah. It's like it had nothing to do with getting it right. Actually giving it to me. Small. I smell a rat with flu vaccines. Absolutely. Natural spirit. You put on the aliens don't think like humans do. Well, that's probably a fact. Like I said, they're probably above all the crap that we do, right? Here on Earth, they probably look at us and go, oh my God, these people are still barbarians, still living in the dark ages, even though as advanced as we believe we are. That doesn't mean squat. I mean, these guys might be like, oh, look how cute. They got plasma engines now. I mean, to us, it's like, oh, cutting edge. Wow, we get this shit now. And it's like, and they're probably looking going, oh my God, yawn. I mean, how do we know? I have Clarkson 93. You said, how do you think the ancient structures were built, like Machu Picchu and the pyramids? Have you ever watched Brian Forrester's video? I have. Very informative. I like the guy a lot. I mean, when you look at this, like you said, Machu Picchu and a lot of these, sites like that. I mean, look at the way they're melted together. These things are like seamless, absolutely like puzzles, right? And put together. They were heated. These things now, it's like you go, okay, so they were heated right there and put into a mold. How do you mold something that's got different shapes? It's not like just like a brick, right? It's made repeatedly the same size and some kind of, you know, call it what you like. And a lot of times you put you make up like a jig or whatever, or, if you got like some kind of framework. You want to make a certain size anything. And it's not like it's being pumped out the same exact size, right? Or shape. It's all different sizes. How the hell do they do that? That's why they said they had technology beyond what we have today. And people go, well, how's that possible? It's just stone. I know, but how do they do it? And even now, I mean, the pyramids have passed, and now they're saying it's like past 39,000 years old, if not older than that. And you still can't put a razor blade between them big blocks. How is that possible? You think all that weight from that pyramid will literally settle and eventually things start to come apart, foundation move apart? No, it's still the same way. How do they do that? And the stuff is like perfect marble. It's like, completely smooth. Like yeah, these guys were really good at what they did. That's a fact. Uh, Shami Dudar, you put on there interesting. You mentioned cloning. They have cloned sheep years ago. Yep. In the UK, they cloned other animals supposedly, and I reckon they have cloned humans, secret experiments, and hidden bases. Yeah, well, they've said that. Dulce base, I was trying to think of earlier. I think I'm glad you said that. And the Dulce base, well, they said there's actually aliens that are alive, different aliens. I find that a little hard to swallow because unless they get along with each other, you would think it would be an all out war type thing. So I'm not really sure about all that. I'm not sure if I go with that or not. Yeah, Alien Tenno, you're right. Dolly the sheep. They had done that, and you could bet they've cloned it. But they did talk about how they had one that was cloned. It was like I don't know if they said it was a woman and half lion, kind of thing going on. I don't know if I swallow all of that, but if they cloned the sheep back in the day, what makes you think they won't stop there? It's like I said, people are, we humans are curious. We're always going to try to push the envelope, push it. Now, whether it comes out right or not, it's a whole different ball game. But you know as well as I do that we don't stop. That's why I said we never stop going to the moon. And I don't think we ever stop doing any of that. Speaking of, stuff like that, this was just put on a few hours ago. And I don't know if you guys heard about the X-37B, where it looks like a mini shuttle, and they're autonomously that they travel, and basically it says space plane lands after a record 780 day mystery mission. Now the way they word it, it says there's a video on here. It says what you need to know. The U.S. Air Force has at least two reusable X-37B spacecraft in its fleet, and both have flown multiple flights. The solar-powered space planes were built by Boeing and feature a miniature payload bay to host experiments or small satellites. They were originally designed to spend up to 240 days in orbit. Now, let's get a little sci-fi and get a little more speculative. How do we know? Now, you're talking about it's a little over 2 years. How do we know this thing hasn't flown to the moon, brought supplies, or whatever, or been to Mars? If it only takes 9 months to get there, and that's providing it's not a lot better engine, because they say it's solar. I'm not so sure about all that, but let's go with that. How do we know that that thing didn't travel somewhere else and then come back? I mean, it's not like everybody's sitting there going, oh, I'm just going to track this with my own telescope, and I'm going to see it go, just keep flying around the Earth. You can't track that. There's no way you can track it. So how do we know? What was it else it said here? Yeah, it landed in October 27th. The Air Force's rather, X-37B orbital test vehicle mission mission 5 successfully landed at NASA's Kennedy Space Center shuttle landing facility. It said Air Force officials have said that the exact nature of X-37B missions are classified, though they have dropped hints about the types of experiments OTV, which is, like I said, the orbital test vehicle, 5 performed in orbit. One payload was the Air Force Research Laboratory Advanced Structurally Embedded Thermal Spreader, an experiment designed to test experimental electronics and oscillating heat pipe technologies in a long-duration space environment. I'm not saying that's not true, but, it's up there for a little over 2 years. How do we know where this how do we know it didn't take off somewhere and come back? I mean, why not? Let me see here. Yeah, SC. Hey, good to see you in there, by the way. You said, Chris, they have also been using TR3B for years. Absolutely. Absolutely. And like I said, guys, they have spacecraft. You can bet on it that we see, I'm sure some of these UFOs are actually things we've designed. In fact, my brother, when he was in the Air Force years ago, back in the 80s and early 90s, he was there for about 12 years, and he was an aircraft mechanic. And he says, believe it or not, some of that stuff is ours. Now, is it all ours? No way to know. I actually called him an idiot because he told me that he was actually asked if he wanted to go work at Area 51. And he said, no. Are you high? I was like, are you insane? So I don't want to work there. And like I said, I think I told you guys this before. I said, well, what reason would that be not to? He said, well, first of all, you can't talk about it. Let's say you come home to your wife and you can't talk about it at all because they forbid you not to. I said, so what? He said, well, it has the highest divorce rate there on that base. Okay. Your wife comes up to you and says, honey, how was your day? No, it wasn't bad. It was interesting, Or I had to knock out one of the other guys that work with me because he was giving me shit, or whatever the reason. Or I was just great. I love my job. I love working on the things I do. Well, what is it that you work on? I can't tell you that. But, and of course, if they go into it knowing that, but I think it was because of the long time hours that they got to put in, so on and so forth. I mean, but still, come on. I would have been all over that. If they would have said, would you like to go work at Area? Yes. I wouldn't have been able to even finish the sentence. I would have been yes. Hannah in Wonderland, you put Elon Musk isn't to be trusted. There's just something about him that unsettled me. Well, again, he's now working with NASA. He's actually subcontracted through him, rather. And of course, he takes his crafts and he brings up supplies to the ISS and everything else. So, you can almost bet he's in the know. He knows everything there is to know. And like I said, when they had that live broadcast with him talking about his spaceship that he had built, like I said, that one guy was, and like I said, I only seen it for like 15, 20 minute stops. And the guy said, by the way, Elon, I don't believe you when you said that about the aliens, not knowing about aliens. And he just kind of, yeah, that's all he did. I'm saying to myself, really? Oh, come on. This guy absolutely knows. He's in the know now. So you can bet on it. That doesn't make him a jerk. It just, he's bedfellows with him now. So chances are you're not going to hear him say anything about it. But he has said he'd love to die on Mars. Now, what for? Unless there was something to gain by it, right? Yeah, Bob Lazar. I mean, how much does Bob Lazar really know? I think he, Rock Stop. You said that. You questioned that rather. I think he is in the know. I think the guy's spot on. I think he's telling the truth. Like I said, there was a video out there of younger Bob Lazar. And I think it was, I forget what the name of the video, something like the car that runs on hydrogen or whatever it was. And he actually built it, into a Corvette, 3 tanks and stuff like that. He's got in the back, and he's got a solar, solar panels that actually run this thing. So he's basically getting this fuel for free, basically, right? And basically he's got a hydrogen pump, like a gas pump, and he uses it in his car. And the guy built it all himself. So the guy is a smart guy. He's definitely a technician. He worked there. They try to claim that he didn't, which is really wild. Tried to basically erase his ass and make him, basically you got no social security number. You got nothing. You got no life. You're not there. You're just a nobody. They try to erase him basically. And what would you do that for? Unless, of course, you had, you just wanted to erase what he had to say. So, yeah. I'm trying to put that on. I'm just going to take it back off. That thing just jumped up on me here. Yeah, custom tailored one. Yeah, you put on there, look at what Bob Lazar sacrificed after he told all. Yeah. I mean, they basically wanted to erase him like he had no life at all. So he couldn't function anywhere. It's like, let me see your social security. Well, here's my card. That doesn't exist. I mean, they basically tried to erase him, period. So he's basically just like this empty shell living on Earth, right? And that's what they try to do to him. You're right about that, natural spirit. All planets have that have rather binary stars have life on them, and yeah, we did. We actually had to, absolutely, and we got two moons. So, but yeah, we had a binary star. One was on the other side of the solar system, which now they believe we have a lot more planets in our solar system. It's not just that. Well, it was nine, now it's eight. But they believe some scientists believe we have a lot more in our solar system now. I guess they graded it, they said, well, because all of these planets are so close, therefore our solar system stops right here. This being our sun. And then, of course, you got again, Pluto was a ninth planet, but now they got the eight, and then we got Pluto the rock. But I guess they went, okay, right here, this is where it stops. When, if you keep going, it keeps going. There's other planets out further. So our solar system may go a lot further. And it did. Supposedly there was another sun at the other side of our solar system. So keep in mind that if that's true, then you had a sun heating planets from both ends. So is it possible that there was life on every single planet, including Pluto at one point, might have had life on them? So just because they were further away from the sun we have now doesn't mean it was like that thousands of years ago, maybe millions of years ago, right? Something to think about. Yeah, you're right. Strange skies. Yeah, you put, hey, Chris, that train-like thing you found in the last video of the moon, that thing reminds me of what they used on the movie The Core. Yeah, remember how it looked like it was all sections, and they would break them apart because they would try to get the core to start up. And you're right, absolutely had the same shape, and that's exactly what I thought of when I saw that. It's exactly what I thought of. Supreme ruler. I wouldn't want to work at Area 51. Probably get killed or thrown in jail for spilling the beans. Well, it's almost like you get this privileged information. So most people are like, hey, I'm just happy to work in and see all of this stuff. It's just dynamic. But then it's kind of like the Apollo mission guys. Who do they share it with? Let's say it's eating you up so badly that you're trying to, oh my God, I'd love to be able to share this, but I can't. They said they'd, if I said anything, my family members would disappear mysteriously, or whatever the case is, or a gag order that you can't, say anything about anything for X amount of years, you know? So that would be tough. That really would be tough. It's like, how do you work that and not be able to talk to people about it, right? Hard to tell. Yeah, MC Gamer, yeah. Bob thought they were taking a giant crap on the scientific community. So that's why he told all. Yeah, and I believe that. But look at where it got him, right? They literally tried to just erase him. But the good thing about it is they had dug into the records that he had, and they found that he in fact did work there. He worked at Groom Lake and he worked over these places. He absolutely worked there, and he had proof to show it. So he was telling the truth. James Craig, and you put on there, Chris, I work for a pharmaceutical company that makes vaccines for a variety of so-called epidemic viruses, and I would never even get them pumped into my body. And what is that telling you? Yeah, man. Yeah, absolutely. Can't give it to me. They're like, oh, my doctor will tell me, oh, there's nothing to worry about. That's all the same. I'm good. I'm completely fine. Thank you very much. Natural spirit, you put on there all of this scare about AI taking over is BS because when scientists will find out that the quantum will be a benevolent system with attitude that I can't do evil. Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, they'll put in a fail safe. And of course, if you watch like the movie Terminator, they think, oh my God, this is what's going to happen to us and blah, 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 blah. Not if they put in a fail safe to completely, like, and more than one fail safe that, if one fails, the other one won't. And if they are afraid of that, they're going to put all kinds of fail safes in there. They're just not going to allow that shit to happen. So yeah, you're right about that, strange guys. No, I'll do naturally. Yep. Sandra Young, you said stuff I've seen on the moon indicates to me superior engineering and technology and technical knowledge to us. I honestly believe there are controlling decision makers on Earth. Oh yeah, I mean, again, they're dictating what we can see. So there you go. Let me see. Let me see. Hmm. Mm-mm-mm. What else do we have on here? SpaceX fires up a Crew Dragon abort engine ahead of critical test. Sweet. Yeah, you got that right, James. Chris, if we worked in Area 51, we'd be sorted big time. Yeah, pretty much. It's like, okay, we know who you are, and we know, take a hike. You're fired. Let me see. Lots of love from Pakistan. What's going on there? Killer Rocket Freck, I think it's called. Um, yeah, you're right about that, Supreme Ruler. Yeah, fail safe till someone hacks it. We can't even keep our public services safe from ransomware. Well, the thing is, being that we're into these quantum computers now, you can bet those things are insane, right? To the point where, you can imagine the stuff that thing's set up with, right? You're not going to be able to hack something like that. I mean, unless, of course, you're already in the know and you worked on these things yourself and leak it out or whatever the case is, which for X amount of money, yeah, it could be done, right? Photography, light, and magic. Great question. If you own a ranch or a large piece of land, and you found a crash flying saucer, would you keep it or inform the authorities? Who owns it anyway? Yeah. I mean, here's the thing. Let's suppose you said, you know what, man, this is interesting. Let's say the occupants died in it or whatever. So there's nothing that's gonna come out and try to eat you, right? But you can imagine having that thing like, no, I'm not telling anybody. But you can bet somehow they've seen it crash, and that's what sucks. And you kind of wish, oh man, if these guys didn't see this thing, this would be awesome. But somehow, some way, they'd find it, because that would be interesting. That'd be interesting to see. Yep, natural spirit. Anyway, they look for binary stars. Well, yeah, I mean, because like I said, if you were to heat both ends of a solar system, then all the planets you said, oh well, it's too cold to be on that planet, so therefore there couldn't possibly be life, or was there at one time? That's the way I feel about it. Now, if there was heated back then, meaning there was a heat source coming from both ends, then very possible that you had life on these planets. Whether there is or not, it's pure speculation, but still. He said we will have no control over AI that can evolve and change its learning habits regardless of fail-safes. They will figure out their limitations and break through them. We have to be very careful. Well, you do. I mean, remember back in the day? I mean, this goes back some years where they had this computer playing these other like pro chess players and stuff like that, and of course they would beat the computer's rear end every time. Boom, 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 beat it. But then the computer learned, and then now he just dominates the best people on the planet. Or not he, but the computer, the AI itself. So But at some point, I mean, as far as like software fail safes, I think that would be a bad idea because clearly it would be able to override it. But as far as like manual shutting down, unless you're putting a backup power source in this thing in case the main power comes into it, you put a backup power source, you're in a world of hurt. There's got to be fail safes. We can completely shut the thing down as far as mechanical wise and physical wise. I don't think anything to do with software fail safes is going to work. Yeah, I've often thought about that too. Natural Spirit, you said when we have better supercomputers, we will hear the whole universe talking. When they found those radio bursts, coming in, how do we know that's not communication from planet to planet? You could put a lot of information in light. We have that fiber optics here on Earth. You could put a lot of information through light, internet, your TV, so on and so forth. It's all light and it's information through light. How do we know that coming from one planet to another, that's not the way they communicate? And it's just a burst, but that burst has so much information. It could be like a download of like ungodly amounts of information, and they're just transmitting it from planet to planet. And we just don't have a clue what it is. We have no way to decipher it. So how do we know? Think about that a minute. We have no idea. We think we know. And we're searching, with SETI, and we got X amount of thousands of frequencies where, in the gigahertz, spectrum and everything else, we're trying to receive all this. And how do we know we're not so far off base, like, frequencies of bands we never even heard of, or just simple light? And that's where these light bursts are coming from. How do we know? Oops, seemed to jump up. Photography, light, magic. I think Elon Musk will jump in a new spaceship and go to Mars after telling NASA to go after themselves. Yeah, you might be right about that. Mr. Wayne, you said if you subscribe to NASA channel, you may notice that sometimes they have asked NASA. I think we should all feel free to ask them about the edited photographs in the comment section of the video. And I think you're right there, Mr. Wayne. Now, chances are they'll blow you off about it, but it'd be worth it to just drive it home and see what they say. I mean, they'll just say it's your pareidolia or whatever. Oh, that's just crap. You guys are all silly. Alien Tenno, you said Star Trek showed us a very plausible future for us. The Borg, yeah. See them big cubes and everything else, and how, you can be assimilated and everything else. So, yeah, good possibility. James Cragen, you put on there, Chris, in the video of the long train or tube-like structure a few days ago. Up to the top left of the picture is a craft in a huge building and a bridge. Yeah, you can see that if you look at it. You got that object there, and behind it was going like this. It was kind of like going off to the back. It was kind of like on an angle. I saw that as well. And if you look just to the right of that stuff, you can see what looks like these things, like I said, have been laying on their side, or they're just designed that way and they're laying right there. Yeah, there's much more on this moon. And I think, like I said, I think the more you look into it, the scarier it seems. I mean, this is probably the reason why the astronauts came back freaked out like they were. And I also think that if we seen it in real person, we'd probably feel the same. And then we'd probably thinking, oh, I don't want to know, but who knows, right? Oh, you can bet on it. There, photography, light, and magic. Yeah, he said, I bet someone's got one somewhere. It would not surprise me. Exactly, Patron. You put on there, talking of Bob Lazar, look at what they did to Gary McKinnon. Excuse me. He didn't go to prison, but they made his life a living hell. Absolutely. They literally will make your information disappear. So you can't go anywhere. You can't do anything. You got no credit. You got no social security. You don't exist. What do you do now? Pretty much screwed. So you got to kind of do for yourself now. And you better hope you don't need to go out and buy something because you basically have you're not a person. You're not there. John Devon, you said, so Chris, what do you think about the pads on the moon are used so the people up there can walk around the surface, but not on the regolith. Truthfully, I think from what I've seen in a lot of these photos, you can see what looks like roadways, right? Or at least pathways going from one structure to another. Now, I believe they have things that can actually drive on the surface, but I also think that most of those pads, they're accessed by craft. In other words, they just fly, they just like puddle jumping, kind of like just go to each one of them. So, in other words, let's say you had to go to a certain place on the moon, you just take off with a little craft and fly over to the next one, just land on a helipad. And it could very well be. So, I don't think it's because they're quite large, right? So these could be structures on top, and you can land anywhere on it. So just picture like this giant round, disc your house and buildings on, and you could just land on it and just walk to it and everything else. And I don't think they actually walk the surface, the lunar surface. I think they actually fly from, like I said, just kind of like jumping from pad to pad, jumping like a frog, um, like a helipad. And like I said, some of them have roadways like this, like they made transport stuff from one to another. I don't know, but that's the way it looks like. It looks like there's roads there, and then it looks like there's some of those pads are like up on a mountain, and there's nothing going to it. Like there's no roads, no nothing. So that's what tells me maybe it's something they're jumping from. You could just fly from one to another or around the moon and back to another, right? I don't know. Valiant Thor, he said, if they finally reveal the info of alien life, it's going to be for dark reasons and purposes. Well, yeah, and you may be right because they're saying that they might try to stage this false alien, invasion and stuff like that. So, me personally, I think, let's say they did that, and there was this, oh wow, we're all seeing crafts in the sky. Well, unless it's literally destroying buildings and everything else, people will probably go, I doubt that thing's real. I mean, it may look realistic because they said that the holographic technology is insane today, and that, and some even believe that was what happened on the 9/11 stuff. Now, to me, that's purely speculation, and I don't know that to be true at all, because they said a lot of this had explosives in it. So, and that's what come down the way it did, like a pancake fashion. But that's pure speculation. No way to know. But they say that. Can you imagine if the holographic and technology is so advanced that literally you'd see something in the sky and it looks so realistic that people would be frightened, right? And be scared. Oh, government, please save us, kind of thing. Again, to keep the masses under control. And as far as I'm concerned, I'd be like, yeah, well, let's see if that thing does anything to anybody, and we'll just go from there. Because it would have to be something amazing. Of course, it would scare the probably average public, right? What do you guys think about that? Yeah. Alien Ten, he said cell phones are mind control devices. It's been proven. Text messages, etc., give your brain an endorphin hit. We're crackheads on tech. Yeah, I mean, and here's the thing: if you were to literally, take a phone away from somebody, and it's like lobbing their own arm off, right? I think it's crap. And but I think I see too much of that on the road. I see people on their phones. I'm going, man, what is so darn important that you got to be on the damn thing 24/7? I've got a phone myself, man, and I don't answer that shit unless I have to. Um, and a lot of times you won't see me even looking at the damn thing. I could care less. When I'm at work, I pitch it aside. I don't even bother with it. If it's that important, I'll get to it after. Now, if it's really important, I'll take a phone call if it's somebody I know, and obviously it'd be important. So yeah. Natural Spirit, you said, where can I send you info? You can put it. You can send it to my email, which is Mars Anomalies at AOL.com, or Facebook, Mars Anomalies and Beyond. It's there. Either way, I'll get it. Studious Realism. I don't know if you ever dropped the link. Did you drop it? Got to go, Mr. Chris. See you out there. Um, yeah, I hope you dropped the link. I didn't even see the link. I don't know if it jumped up on me. I never did see it because I wanted to send these people to your channel and let them check it out. Alien Tenno, there are many whistleblowers that are ghosts in our world now. I call them the forgotten ones. Yeah. I mean, how many times lately have you heard about scientists like they're coming through like this breakthrough or going to mention some kind of information? All of a sudden, boom, mysteriously, they died in a small Cessna airplane crash or their car, they got in a terrible accident or whatever. Who the hell knows, right? Move that aside there. Yeah, Valerie, you said on there, you put on there, oh, I'm sorry. It was like looking at a normal looking neighborhood, and except for the pads. And until you start looking at it, I think the majority of people would be scared. Yeah, I mean, because it's almost like, again, when you see them from the side, and you just picture yourself like kind of going next to them, and then looking at these things, like literally staring at them, you'd be like blown away. Like again, the first thing that would come to my mind: why is this thing here? Who put it here? How long has it been here? Are were they evil? Excuse me. Are they still here? Are they underground? Now, I don't think I'd be frightened of the fact that, it was aliens because, again, they probably would have dominated this planet a long time ago, right? If they really wanted to take it over, because you would think their technology would be far more advanced than us in that they could you know, just put a pathogen in the air and just kill everything that's like a human being, kill them off. So I don't think that's the case at all. I wouldn't be there. But as far as the size of these structures or crafts or whatever they may be, just to see that would literally be hair raising and make your hair tangles. So I don't know. Custom made tailored, you said experts say our planet would be too unstable for life without our moon. Perhaps the moon was brought here by the aliens so life can exist. Well, again, the our ancient people said that there was a time before the moon. So apparently the planet did okay. If you really think about it, there wouldn't be any, high tides and things like that. And a lot of people, of course, it's got, it does have a pull on it, on the moon, on the planet rather, stuff like that. But so, what if there was a time without the moon? Then how did the Earth function then? Be a good question, right? Blue Sunset, you said we're almost in a world controlled by AI created by us. I wonder if evolution ends that way everywhere. I don't know. That's a great question. I think if they do make like a hybrid, somebody had asked about that before. If they do like, whoop, sorry about that, hit the mic here. If they made some kind of hybrid type thing, so we're half robot, half human, stuff like that, and we went to another planet and literally could walk around, didn't have to worry about breathing the oxygen or different gases or whatever is on there. Um, that would be something because it's for experiment purposes or, to explore a planet because you literally can still function like a human being. Now, it wouldn't surprise me if they already designed people like that, hybrids. It wouldn't surprise me in the least bit. Let's see. Mr. Wayne, AOL.com, you dated yourself. No, actually, I just use it because it's simplistic for people. And like I said, I use the Facebook as well, just so people can find it pretty easy. Only because a lot of people have used that format or that platform, I should say. So, it just makes it easy for them to do it. Because I got a Twitter page. You can always put it on there as well. You can find me on there as well. Mr. Mars, magnifier of Martian anomalies. Hey, Chris, my name is Colin. Happy to see you finally got to Sol 1450. 1450 is a Sol that keeps on giving. Looking forward to your discoveries. Appreciate it. Well, I do actually have like one or two more videos from that Sol, and there's so much to see in there, guys. It's just, oh my God. There's a lot of like older stuff if you go to that just has like a treasure trove of all kinds of stuff on there, man. It's just like the more you see, the more you just go, oh my God, look at the crap that's on here. And again, people are starting to see these. I had a couple of people tell me, Chris, I thought you were full of it when you said that there's anomalies there that are being turned into, like, they're turning these things into rocks, or is it possible they are being encrusted because they've seen like something steel or something that was white in its perfect shape. I mean, it wasn't, it was crisp. It looked clean. In other words, it wasn't just like a piece of rock, literally sticking out of a rock. It's almost like they didn't finish, manipulating that whole part and they left that part hanging out, or it definitely got encrusted. But why didn't that part hang out, get encrusted as well? So more and more people are starting to see this. So some people are like, oh man, I thought you were full of it at some point, but then I looked and oh my God. Starlight, you said people can't say much about aliens and other worlds because all of these chats are so monitored. Well, makes you wonder too, because I know somebody said that, trying to remember if one of my friends had said that they said, NASA was actually watching their channel. It wouldn't surprise me. They're trying to gauge, I think they're trying to gauge people, how they would think and how they would ask the question, like, what would you think about, life on the moon, or if there's structures on the moon? Would you freak out if there was alien life, so on and so forth? And it's a way of taking a poll. Who knows? It's hard to say. I think the people that don't follow along and never research this stuff, they'd probably be a little edgy and they probably wouldn't be too happy about it. Let's put it that way. Octavital forged. I like the way you said that. It's like forged. Appreciate the support. You said, I hope we get some photo analysis that are from Pluto. Yeah, I have done one a while back. And now there's one somebody had showed me too. And it was like reddish. And of course, I had white. You guys said, please do this on Pluto. The problem with that photo is it looks so CGI'd. It's sad. You know what I mean? I just see this all the time. And I'm just going, oh my God. I don't know if you could bring out something like that because it's complete trash, right? It's too CGI'd. When you look at it, you go, come on. It looks fake. Mr. Wayne, thank you, sir, again for your support. Keep up the good work, you said. I will, and thank you for watching, of course. Alien Tano, you said what's also possible is aliens, full contact, would infect us with deadly bacteria, vice versa as well. Think about it, different evolutions. Well, that's true, unless, of course, to wear some kind of biosuit, right? And because that's what we'd have to do if we ever went to another planet. We'd have to wear some kind of biosuit or have our own atmospheric kind of thing in our own suit so we wouldn't be infected. Because God knows, I mean, we always talk about, you hear NASA talking about how, well, we don't want to infect Mars if there is truly life on there and everything. I don't think they could ever stop that. Because, I mean, did they have like super clean rooms back in the day in 1975? I'm sure they did. But can you get every bit of bacteria off like the Viking lander and any other lander that was either crashed, failed, or whatever on Mars? Is it possible I mean, again, you're finding this bacteria and all this other living organisms on the ISS, and it's out in space, for crying out loud. It's still within our atmosphere, but nonetheless, it's still there. Okay, so who's to say that? Did they bring it up there with them? Clearly they had to have. And if not, is this stuff living out in space by itself? How do we know? And if that's true, are we really going to infect that planet, or have we already done that? I don't know. Again, thank you, Octavital, as well as Mr. Wayne. Thank you for your support, guys. Appreciate it. John Devon, you said threw Bob off the grid. Absolutely. Again, try to make him vanish. Phil Cox, you said at Susan and posted a short vid about it today. Oh, okay. Phil, I think you did that. Noodles, yeah. Mars life matters. Yeah, like I said, it's getting there. Wait until next year. Well, actually, it's going to be 2021. We'll actually see, because they're going to launch the craft, the next rover. And it's supposed to be, I think they said 2021, which sucks because I'd like to see that thing on next year and see what kind of photos they give us. Because like I said, the InSight lander, same kind of mushed out crap, manufactured. Well, not manufactured, but manipulated, obfuscated. You can just see it. It's sad. And I've done that. As soon as a couple of them photos, I jumped on those and you can see what looks like stuff in the background where they've taken out stuff. And yeah, they're not just there just for that. I mean, when they put the seismograph on them, or it's a seismometer, they put it there and they hoisted it with a little crane and they stuck it there. And then they had that temperature probe, which I think they finally straightened that out. It went into the ground, hit a rock, and of course it was like this in the ground. It was kind of crooked, and then they figured a way. I think they used the arm, straightened it out, and then got it back to go in the ground. So I think they got it straightened out. Brett Butterfield, bye all. Have a great evening. Brett, you do the same. I'm glad you stopped in. And thanks for being here. Dr. Vital, you put on the entire universe is loaded with bio. Some may be able to live with biological comforts. Well, like I said, I think life exists everywhere, and there might be life we haven't even have a clue what it is. How do we know? There's no way. I mean, we're learning how to walk, right? We're like this, spacefaring, trying to be spacefaring. We're trying to, as far as humanoids, anyway, as far as humans. But the what I find interesting is that we're just learning how to crawl and then walk and stuff like that, and we're finding all new things about our solar system and our universes and stuff like that, where we're taking photos and seeing these stars with the planets, the planets around them, and how they're in the Goldilocks zone, and if it's life here on Earth, and chances are there's life on there, and that doesn't have to be life like us, but just growth and life, and that would be interesting to see if they actually went to another planet and it literally went into the atmosphere and into the upper skies and seen like trees, maybe things flying. I mean, that would be cool. That would be actually pretty neat. Like Hoover, you said, they are going to keep making mistakes, and we're always going to be there. Oh, well, that's true. Absolutely. Less sweet. You said, any thoughts on cattle mutilation? Well, that's been going back. That goes back to what, the 80s, I think. Um, it was wild because the way they talk about the mutilations is that just precision cuts, like with laser, no blood anywhere, different organs missing out of these cows and different livestock and all that other stuff. I don't know what the hell that's all about, and they think it's some kind of alien or some kind of source taking these organs and stuff like that out of these cattle and stuff. I don't know. What do you guys think about that? Pretty interesting. And I remember hearing that way back in the 80s. It was just crazy. Valerie, you said just watch a documentary about how they got these pics from Pluto. Took 10 years. Good story. It is. It actually is pretty wild. It took that long to get there, and once it got there, they took all kinds of pictures and stuff like that. Really interesting. I like that stuff. Lee Palfrey, you said that's right. The Pluto photos look too perfect. Yeah, they're too manufactured, man. They're too CGI'd. Now I don't know if they're CGI'd over the actual photo, but it's so. I'm going to use the term dense, that the CGI is so dense you couldn't see anything through it anyway. And if you're lucky enough to see it, you might see like something small. Now I'm still going to look into them. Don't get me wrong, but yeah, I mean it's just crazy. Again, thank you, Octavital. Appreciate the support. And you said, I mean, who's to say that life starts in a biodome like Earth and then learns how to survive without a vacuum? Oh, absolutely. And that's what, again, people just say automatically think, well, anything we see out in space, whether it's on the moon, Mars, it's got to look just like ours. It can't be any living animals or anything like that because of the atmosphere. Well, they do have an atmosphere on Mars. It's very thin, and like I said, we have humans here that live in the highest elevations on mountains. They're over 100 years old. And these people are still gardening, still social, still still do function, do everything. Now, if you and I, people that live on normal elevations, depending on how high you are from sea level, now go way up in these mountains, you'd have a hell of a time trying to breathe. That doesn't mean you couldn't. You'd get acclimated to it eventually, or unless of course you're trying too hard, you'd probably die there. But so, in other words, I wouldn't stop running around up there with a lack of oxygen. But yeah, I mean, life forms doesn't have to be as we know it. Just like the way they build structures on the moon or on Mars, doesn't have to be exact, and that's the whole point. And people go, "Ah, that's crap. That can't possibly be on Mars." Why? Why? Yusuf Erdem. Hi, greetings from Turkey. Hey, good to see you in there. Yeah, it is pretty strange how the observatory is named Lucifer, right? Not the Vatican. Yeah, imagine that. Craig McCauley said, hey, new to the channel, do you think there is any life on Venus? Well, there has been a couple researchers that have looked on there and said they've seen some things that are anomalous. Now, whether there is or not, if you look it up, I'm trying to remember now if this is, I could have this wrong, but I'm trying to think if it was, I think Venus itself has a very slow orbit or rotational. It turns on its axis, and it's very slow. So it's very cold on one side and very hot on another. And of course, near the top, they found ice. Now, and it's obviously closer to the moon. You wouldn't think you'd find that. So there's a certain Goldilocks zone right on that planet alone, right? It's in a sweet spot. Now, whether there is or not, I haven't really done a whole lot of research on it, but I'm going to. Now, I've done some videos in the past, so I don't recall, to be truthful with you, but some people have seen what look something anomalous. Now, I'm not saying exactly what it is, but they have seen things that are anomalous that don't look like they belong there, or doesn't look like it belongs there, right? MC Gaming. No, I haven't seen that yet. Has anyone seen Ad Astra movie yet? Don't want to spoil it, but I think the government had a hand on it. Well, and that's what I was thinking. That's why I want to see that. I can watch it. Just haven't watched it yet. I need to because it looked very interesting, and I'd love to be able to check that out. Mike Hoover said, "Holy crap, Libby! Wow, they are scumbags." So they must be talking about like the Vatican and stuff like that. Pretty funny. I don't know about that natural spirit. You said I heard it was insects from space that hitched a ride on asteroids doing the mutilations. Must be really big insects. 'Cause those things are huge. I mean, you can literally see like the whole mouth itself is like the whole skin is literally gone. You can see the jawbone and teeth and everything. Clean cut, like laser cut. James, you said, haha, Chris, I would be absolutely shocked and stunned if NASA hasn't joined in with the US and many of the hangouts under a false name to see how much is left from them to lie about, man. Oh, yeah. Well, again, if they're watching it, I mean, it makes sense that if they're just saying, just get a poll and see it, whether these guys think it's, we're spot on about certain things we're seeing doesn't matter because it's the questions you guys are asking. And if they say, oh, do you think there's life here? Do you think there's life here? Would you guys be freaked out? Because I'll ask that question. And they're just going, well, no, I wouldn't be. But these are the people like yourselves, like myself, who wouldn't be worried about it in the least bit. And it's something we're entrenched in. It's something we want to know more about. So we wouldn't be freaked out about. What about the people that don't know anything about it? That's where I think that would be the question, right? Would they freak? For the person, first person, like I said, here's a good example. I was going to say this. If you get one of the first people you know and you say, what do you think about the latest photos from the Curiosity rover? Again, they probably look at you like you got three heads and go, what rover? What do you mean? And that's what they're hoping. They're hoping that people are dumb or at least not looking into this. And then the people who are looking into it, they're probably saying the people who really want to look into it, that's good, which sounds contradictive, but they're going, well, the people who are on board with it, that's good. We want to see how they feel about, life on the planet, and we'll see, they'll speak for the people who are researching this. And then the people who aren't, I wonder if they're taking polls about that. Do they think, you know, that's what I think they should do. They should put a poll on there, like on, like space.com, NASA's, what do you guys think about life on the planet? On other planets rather, do you think that you'd be frightened or do you think you'd be okay with that? And of course, that could be, like A, B, or C, just pick one. I'd be interested to see how that worked out and see what the kind of answer they got from that. Oh, that's sweet you put on there. I didn't take the cattle thing seriously until I learned it was happening often in my area and not being reported. Well, yeah, because maybe they're just afraid they're going to be ridiculed. In other words, there's people coming in there, they'll flock in there, the TV channels will come in, and then all of a sudden you get all kinds of, attention you didn't want. So I kind of understand that. Makes kind of sense. Max K, you put on there, Venus is really creepy looking planet. Not nice if anything resides there, which I think is possible. Yeah, I mean, I do too. I mean, I think life can live anywhere. It may not be a life like ours. It might not be anything like ours. But people go, oh, you don't understand. You're delusional because it's a gaseous planet, or it's got this kind of, carbon dioxide and all this other crap. And, that doesn't mean something couldn't adapt to that kind of gas. It doesn't mean that something couldn't live on that. Just because our bodies could not live in it doesn't mean something else couldn't. Could it evolve that way? How the hell do we know? We just take for granted, oh, yeah, well, if it's not us, then clearly life doesn't exist. Kind of a closed-minded, attitude to have as far as I'm concerned. Kenneth Proctor said, do you think NASA holds back pitches like saying, this is Sol 100, then keeps the next 8, then the next one releases they claim is Sol 101? Well, yeah, I mean, I've seen it where they've actually jumped Sol's period. I mean, which doesn't make any sense. Now, it does to a certain degree because you go, well, if the rover was inactive, because when they first had that first motherboard go bad, um, then it was shut down for a little bit, and then of course it immediately switched over to the other one. So you might miss a day. In other words, it's got to run its diagnostics, make sure it's running well as well, and then it continued on. So you may lose a few days. I mean, I've seen it where either the rover was stuck in one position for like a week, and a couple of the researchers and I have been going back and forth, going, "What's going on with the rover? Why is it literally sitting in one spot forever? Doesn't make any sense. It really doesn't." And then, I mean, if it's a technical problem, it makes sense. You know what I mean? Because you expect that. But when they don't claim anything's going wrong, and the thing's just sitting there, then you go, okay, so what's the deal? Why is it just sitting in one spot? It may just rotate, but it's still in the same spot. What's the point? Unless you're observing something and really checking it out. Photography, light, and magic. What do you think about Jean Ward's theory that Mars had 3 different types of Martian? I personally totally agree. Well, I mean, a lot of people have said that. They said there's, tall Martians, small ones, and even medium size Martians on there. Now, there's no way to vet any of that. But here's what I find interesting. Like when I did that video with, looks like I said they look like toys on there. My question was, were these things meant for small Martians, or was it Martians maybe our size and they were toys? It's kind of weird when you look at those things. It doesn't make any sense. It had like small mechanisms on there and everything else. Would a toy have that? Absolutely, could have it, right? So it makes you wonder: was it just small Martians? Was it very big Martians that played with these things like toys? I don't know. I think there's a possibility. I mean, we have that here on Earth. We have like pygmy people. We have very tall people in certain countries. We have, medium-sized people. So I think it's a good possibility. Why not? I kind of agree with that. Lucky Mo, good to see you there. And you said NASA won't ever admit there are microbes on Mars. Come on, just microbes? What's the big deal? Oh yes, admitting to microbes would lead to many uncomfortable questions. Well, I think they'll do that. They might have actually say, well, we found traces of what used to be microbial life, and then I think they're going to say, oh, we finally found some. Again, they still have to answer the question, and they kind of tiptoed around it about the methane or methane. You friends over there in the UK like to use. Um, what created that? And it's always in the warmer seasons. Now, you would expect here on Earth, the more it gets into plant growth and everything else, that you'd have more methane as well. More animals and microbes and everything else eating more of this plant life, more and more. You get a lot of this methane. Methane could be caused by natural causes, but they say it's in certain spots and there's large plumes of this. So whatever it is like all of a sudden, it always seems to happen in the warmer months. Go figure, right? No, I hate it when this thing jumps up like this. No, Well, Rachel's in there. Hello, Rachel Anderson. Good to see you in there. Larry Palfrey, you said they would never do it because they would have to admit that they had been lying to us all these years. Well, yes and no, because they can play off like, oh, we're just learning about it now. We had no idea of this. We're now finding proof of this, and it would easily go over well with the community. Well, when I say community, I mean more like the public. Now, us, we're going to go, yeah, we knew this all along, and you're finally admitting it. Now, to the world, it was just kind of like, yeah, I watch whatever space news comes out, and I'm perfectly happy with it. And they'll say, oh, wow, they just found this. We were wrong all this time. We were in areas where we didn't find any life, but suddenly we got to this one area that was still has an abundance of water in the soil. We have found traces of microbial life, and we don't mean like fossilized. We mean actual, real, or living. So I think, yeah, they'll do it. You watch and see, and it'd be cool to actually see that, right? Exactly, Mike. I've said this myself. We have creatures living on sulfur vents. Insane. Yeah, you can go just deep underwater next to these vents, these volcanic vents, and it's got sulfur coming right out of these things. And yet these creatures are living right next to it. You and I couldn't go down there. So right off the bat, so would you say, well, there's no way life could possibly do that? Well, it can. It can thrive. It can live. And how warm is that water down there? That's the whole point. It's quite warm. John Devon, you said I have seen roads. Absolutely. Yeah, funny how they do that, huh? Lucky Mole, you said you were actually addressing Robert on this, but you said the 11 experiments showed evidence of microbial respiration, but the results were later denied. Well, yeah, we were just kidding. Doesn't exist. SC, you said Krista Meteor ALH 84001.001 had microbial features in it. Listen, they're going to find this left and right. Yeah, they've been talking about, now it makes you wonder right off the bat, how do they find these? So clearly they're looking for a reason. They're not just going, oh, let me just study the rock and see what this is made out of. Is it an iron core or any kind of ore, metal ore or anything like that? They're literally looking for these things for a reason. They're trying to find life. So if there's life in a rock, okay, that tells me there's life everywhere. Now, it could be just microbial. Doesn't have to be anything like us. But you can bet if there's microbial life, there's bigger life. There's macro. And you can bet there's other life. You can almost bet on it. May powerful you put on there. Maybe NASA put the rover down in a part of Mars where pygmy or smaller Martians live just to be able to edit the photos. Yeah, because, well, I mean, yes and no. I think you're right. It's a great comment because, people have said that. Is it possible that the area we looked at, where it looked like them toys or whatever they were, they're still intelligently made objects regardless, but is it possible, is it actually a bigger area and then they just superimposed a rover? Like, in other words, they just zoomed out and then superimposed a rover and made it look like it was all small things. Or are they just so darn small that they didn't expect people to find them? Well, apparently they did because they expected that because they actually doctored the photo, but they don't think about it. If you've seen, I showed you the pan, right? Because I got it off a good friend of mine, Neville Thompson. When you see the pan, my God, that thing's smaller than hell. And those things were probably 10, 15 feet away from the rover, even 20 feet. They weren't that far at all. So if you were to walk up to it, and you could literally pick them up with your hands. So how big were these things? They were like 6 to 8 inches, maybe 10 inches in length. That's all they were. They're not very big at all. If the size is correct, that's going by if the sizes were correct. Valerie Hackbirth, you said, okay, about the size of the Martians. If they have a thin atmosphere and their gravity is different, wouldn't it be possible that you could have a Barbie doll size Martians? Well, the way I heard it was just the opposite. If you don't have much of a gravity or not much of an atmosphere, they would be tall and spindly because you have nothing to like hold back the growth because of lack of gravity on the planet. So is it possible that that was the case? But they also claimed that Mars was a lot like Earth back in the day, where it had its atmosphere and had this. So is it possible they had normal people our size? Makes you wonder. So I guess it goes by a certain time window of Mars. If it still evolved or still was life, did the life become smaller? Did it become taller? I don't know. Great question. Very good possibility, Valerie. Pachon, you said, gotta go. Thanks for another great hangout. Thank you, Pachon, for showing up and putting your input there, right? Rachel, you said, people of Mars in my dream. I was also in a sealed installation with connecting doorways to the vehicles, and I had to wear a suit, and the people there didn't need one and were giants. See, that's what I'm saying. And that's what I always heard, because, and it makes sense. Because they, scientists say our bodies are attuned to what the, um, Mars would be. Now, if you grew on Mars right now, if you were born and raised there, you would probably be much taller because you got nothing really pulling down on your body. So you would actually grow taller. Now, I don't know. I'm not a scientist and not a biologist or anything of that stuff, but it would make sense. I mean, and, if you ever watched, what was that? I'm going to forget the name of it, but I'll think of it in a second. John Carter. If you watch that, the way he goes and he's like, goes to take a step and boom, he bounces way off. Why? Because his muscles would actually act differently on Mars if you have a lighter or a much lighter gravity. It's kind of like the moon, right? Knowing these guys, you should be able to like literally go boom and bounce to hell right off the damn moon. Well, not off the moon, but take some extreme big strides, I would think. But the suits were quite heavy. I know that for a fact. I don't know if those things are like 250 pounds, 300 pounds, the suits itself. But on the moon, it wouldn't be that heavy, right? So it makes you still wonder, how that would work as far as growth wise, right? Music by Mr. E1. He said, find it fascinating, rather, how a lot of these rocks have sedimentary layers, surely proof of lots of water at some point, and question mark, not just dust layer. I agree. And I think a lot of these, if you really look at these layered rocks, um, like a lot of these buttes, a lot of them have that, right? And I'm okay with that because we see this on Earth. You'll see it all the time. But what's funny about it, you can see some of that stuff is definitely manufactured. Just look at the way it's put on there. It's and it's not very clear. It's almost like they do that purposely so that, well, we don't want to have it crystal clear, because if we do any kind of manipulations on these areas, then clearly, it'll be seen almost immediately. So I think a lot of the stuff is the real deal, meaning layered rock, sedimentary rock. I think a lot of that stuff is the real deal. And then some of it isn't. I think a lot of this stuff is manufactured. I don't think a lot of these buttes are buttes at all. I think they're dressed up to look like buttes, but I don't think they are. Now, that's not to say that there isn't any buttes on the planet. Of course there is, but, because they said, it was a lot like Earth. And if there was a very high water table, now it's no water at all, we're clearly going to see these layers, right? And the sedimentary rock and all this other good stuff. So, yeah. Craig McCauley, you put on there, do you think they will ever be able to terraform Mars? I do, but I think it's going to be done more naturally. Like supposedly they had that volcano start to erupt that was dormant for thousands of millions of years. Funny enough, you haven't heard anything about that, have you? Has anybody heard anything about that volcano erupting again? You would need a bunch of them to erupt for quite a while for it to start to warm the planet, so on and so forth. So apparently the planet is still quite alive under, right? And this is probably why they're taking seismographs up there and stuff like that, and seismometers rather, to listen to the inner Mars. So I think it's a lot more going on in that planet, and it's got more life, and it's alive more than we were being told. I really do. Indrid Cole, good evening, everyone. You said good evening to you. Oh, you're saying the insects equalize it to eat the insides of cows? Yeah, but funny enough, there's never any blood there. So, and again, laser cuts. Like I said, there's parts of organs, livers, stomachs, all kinds of crap missing out of these cattle. How is that possible if there's no blood whatsoever and it's complete, precision cuts? Kind of weird. Mike Hoover. All I gotta say is these poor people. I watch closely, and I can't help to feel bad for whatever happened. Mother's children, their home. Well, yeah. I mean, if that's true, if all that went down, it's kind of like if it happened here on Earth. How many people would lose their lives and stuff like that? And I'm sure a lot of people would still survive, but I don't know. Depends on the catastrophic event there, right? Photography, light, and magic. There is a Martian infrastructure on Mars. You just have to know how to find it. Roads, paths, cities, energy, power plants, etc. Yeah, I mean, I've done videos on that where it looks like even on the Sojourner photo, where it looks like vehicles like just kind of stranded, sitting together. Just envision for a moment. You're on your way to work. You're on a country road. Doesn't matter. It could be on the highway, freeway. Doesn't matter. And you're just there, and all of a sudden, this great catastrophic event happens. I mean, this huge rock comes in from nowhere out of space, and boom. Okay, everybody be like kind of scattering and locking up their brakes and everything else. Now, let's suppose for a minute, everything just like gets totally wiped out, kills everything that's human or anything that's alive on the planet. Picture the vehicles just kind of like stagnant, just laying in different positions. That's what it looked like. And it looked like structures with just the frames and not the walls. So it makes it look like there's a nuclear disaster or atomic disaster happened on that planet. And this was back in the Sojourner photo, and this goes back in 1997. So who the hell knows, right? Ali Badar says we may be a stage in their transcendence, which makes them us. Excuse me. Though again, that I'm drunk and I can be very very philosophical. Don't know in a good way or not. So bear with me. Well, that's a very good possibility. Again, some scientists believe that we are Martians. Now, that kind of sounds silly when you listen to regular scientists. That's a bunch of crap. Why is it crap? Again, just look up the theory of panspermia. Very good possibility. If life started there, how do we know that DNA somehow didn't find its way over on a rock being ejected from Mars over to here on Earth? They found Martian rocks here in, I think, North Pole. Was it one of the poles? North or South Pole, or in Antarctica, they found it. So, if that's true, then living organisms could have started life here. And this is the reason why we'd be very much like the Martians, or where we're going to use the term ancestors, our living counterparts lived over there at one point, and then we came here. And then maybe we lived on both planets at one time. Purely speculation, but that doesn't mean that couldn't be true. Slam that like button if you haven't slammed it. Bam. I want to miss any of these. I'm going to go kind of backtrack a little bit, guys. That's why you'll find I won't be like right down to the bottom, because this thing will jump up on me. And I'm trying not to lose these so I can answer you guys' questions. Rick Rocker Graham, you put in, if Mars is a quarter of the size of Earth, then wouldn't people be that much smaller? Well, again, I agree with you. It's a great question. Is it possible that, yeah, you get the smaller planet, so therefore you would think the people would be smaller, but with less gravity, at least now, maybe thousands of years ago, then is it possible that they would have grown taller on a smaller planet? Weird. Now, if it was just like Earth, how did life grow on that planet then? If they had the normal gravity, maybe just a lot like Earth, and they had oceans and everything else like here, it may very well be smaller people. It's hard to tell. And I would definitely concur with that, because it would make sense. Andrew Haberman, you say, Chris, would you like to look at my Mars content? I have lots of it from Google Mars. Yeah, I mean, if you have a link or something like that, you want to show it. I mean, everybody can have a look at it if you like. Yes, Custom Tailor 1, you put on there, Chris, have you ever noticed the same photos inserted in GigaPan images? No, but I've noticed different patterns. You ever see that? Like, it'll be like, and I know you guys have seen it because you brought it to my attention as well. Years ago, when I looked at this, I said, okay, let's say you got like a small pan. And then what I mean by that, it might be only 2 to 3 photos, right? And when you look at it, you go, okay, why is these 2 sets of rocks? It's like a mirror image over here. Like they have like the same area, basically, like they used a lasso tool and just made it, they either dragged it over there or they used the same exact photo and just placed it And it's almost like, they're doing that for a reason. They probably put it there to actually block something they didn't want you to see. So they just took that part of it and dropped it on that part. And it's like they're two different photos, yet you can see the same exact rocks with little rocks around it and everything else in this different photo. But the entire area around it is completely different. But those particular rocks happen to be in the same place. Or you got one photo that's got that group of rocks, and down in the lower left, it's got the same group of rocks. It's like they're doing that. What the hell's the deal in that? You know what I mean? Makes no sense. Indrid rather, cold. They said from Antarctic rather. Info. Check out Florida Marquis. Hmm. I'll have to check that out. Yeah, see, you were responding to Octa. You said I grow plants. They do grow bigger with extra CO2. Well, this is the reason why you get these people saying, talk to your plants. There's a reason for it. When you exhale, what is it? And it helps the plant grow. What does it do? In turn, it gives off oxygen. So that's why they say talk to your plants, because it's actually healthy for them. That's the reason why they don't want people chopping down forests, because it's like the giant regulator of planet Earth as far as the balance of carbon and actual oxygen. So yeah, John Devon, you said we have been infecting each other for millions of billions of years. Yeah, I mean we might have been doing that back and forth. Who knows, right? Photography, light, and magic. You put on there, which you're right about. You said software from stitching images to make panos is notorious for duplicating the same thing. It happens a lot. You need to check your panos for that kind of shit. Well, the thing is, it's kind of like, but I'm saying as far as like you can have the same photo. It doesn't even have to be a different pan, meaning a bunch of photos stitched together. You can literally see a photo where it has like a group of rocks. They're identical to the lower side, or they just had it up there and they ran it down here too. It's just weird how they've done that. And it's either they were trying to block something in the photo, or what was the reason for it? Or they're just trying to make a part of the photo. Maybe there's information redacted from it, meaning it didn't come in full data from the rover, and they just try to fill it in. Who knows? I don't know what the reason for that is, but it's hard to tell. Exactly. I see. You said, Chris, check my plants out. They do like being talked to and being taken care of. Absolutely, and that's what helps. So, we offer something and they offer something back. So, I don't know if you guys ever seen that. What was that plant that they had in there? Um, Trying to remember what it was. It was either a gas, or they had a plant like it was in a glass globe type thing, and they had it sealed. And what they do is I don't know if it was, I don't know if you guys have seen this, but it was like either they put in like a marijuana or something like that, or something in there, like the actual gas from it, and it literally went to sleep. The plant actually went to sleep. They could tell by the electrical impulses from the plant. It literally went to sleep. It was something along them lines. I'm going, wow, that is just bizarre. And they had one that was they did an experiment where I don't know if they had like a flame next to it, and it literally the impulse is like it knew it was being burned. So yeah, this when you stop and think about stuff like that, life is literally alive. Meaning it's not just a plant, just like this organism, just a plant just growing. I mean, it literally has feelings. It's just weird, man. And the more you learn about that stuff, you go, man, there's a lot more going on in nature, man. It's scary shit. Octavital you put on there because extraterrestrials have multifaceted techniques for resolving or solving rather one variance, and so does mankind in many regards. Absolutely, I do. Um, yeah, I mean, I think a lot of life can actually adjust, right? I think that's what you're getting at, and humans are really no different in a sense. We can't go to extremes, but we can live in extremes. We've lived. I mean, there's people living in, like close to the North Pole. We got people living, Alaska, where it's colder than hell. They have sunlight for like 6 months and six months of darkness. And the temperatures get brutally cold. I mean, you literally go out, you can literally freeze your lungs instantly. So, but we live in it, and yet we can still, we just go into our structures, live there. When it gets warm during the day, within tolerance, we come out and we're fine. Why couldn't they do that on Mars? Because people are like, oh, you don't understand. I hear this all the time. I get these people, like I said, some of these trolls are, oh, there's no way you could possibly have life on there. It gets to 238 degrees below zero. Maybe in the North Pole, not at the equator, not the equatorial region. It gets warmer during the day. So, but they don't mention that. They just say that it gets cold, that we couldn't live on it. Well, that's true. It gets cold, but you would go indoors, and it doesn't get quite that cold. It's like it's supposed to be 100 and something degrees below zero Fahrenheit. But during the day, it gets 80 plus. And they've actually said that it literally gets hot in the equatorial region. It gets hot. They're not saying mediocre, lukewarm. They're saying it gets hot there. Look it up. I mean, it's so, again, water cycle, warm enough, and definitely have water underground as well as lakes underground. Things that look like they're flying in the sky, whether it be insects or other flying animals or whatever. It would not surprise me in the least bit. The planet's still alive, no matter what they say. I'm going by the photos, of course, because I obviously don't have firsthand proof, but going by the photos. Octavital Forest, you said, Chris, you're the best in the industry at this, I think. Well, I don't know about the best, but I mean, if you've been around long enough, and you guys have been doing this to yourselves, if you've been around long enough, you've been, pretty much well educated, pretty rounded as far as investigating a lot of this stuff. So, that's why I always give kudos to everybody that's, my subs and stuff like that, because we got a great community here, and we can learn from each other. And I've always said it's a learning curve for everybody, and I believe that. We're all learning, we're all doing the best we can, trying to figure out the truth, trying to get the simple truth. And I think it's a fun journey. Some people get frustrated. All right, so now, we found out the NASA's lying. Now what? Well, it's not about now what. It's about the journey, meaning finding more and more of the stuff, meaning stuff that's on the moon. Now, like I said, somebody had complained and said, well, these photos are 50 years old. Why bother with those? What about the new photos? That from the LRO and stuff. Well, if they were doctored back then, what makes you think they wouldn't doctor them now? So the best photos are the ones that are way back in the day, when you go back 40 years ago, 30 years ago, 20 years ago, instead of the new ones, because darn well that they're going to be even more professionally, blocked out. Common sense would tell you that, because they got better techniques. And I had one guy say, oh, you don't know, you're not seeing anything here. Here's the real deal. Here's high definition. It was like a 4K photo, and it's something you can zoom way into. But here was the catch. When you zoomed and went all the way in, they literally had bits and pieces. In other words, let's say there's a giant crater, and that part was like a patch or a photo. The next one was a little bit darker, and it showed detail. But why, so all of these photos were patched together. So why couldn't they independently or take something out of that particular photo when it was stitched before it was stitched to make up this whole moon photo? It could very well have done it. Now, and then they just put something in its place and say, okay, therefore there's nothing there. So, because the older photos, Apollo or LRO, the LORC, tell a different story. So to me, I would rather go after the older photos. And that's why I'm starting to do a whole lot of these now, because there's a lot more to see. And I've got one coming up, in fact, that's like I said, I said in my last moon video on my new channel that there's much more there. And in fact, guys, I think I've asked you guys this too. What do you guys think about doing a live feed on that channel? Like maybe do it on like a Wednesday, just to have a talk there. You can give me a yay or nay on that. I was thinking about doing that because that channel now is starting to get videos. I'm starting to put more and more on there, and it'd be cool to actually talk about just the moon stuff we see on there as well, and it'll help the channel out too. Because one thing about the way and I told you guys, you have to have at least 1,000 subscribers, but then they add one little thing. It's gonna be 4,000 hours of watch time on it, and it's like really. But that's your stipulations. That's what they recommend. So, so I was like, well, I mean, the channel will it'll get its own momentum. So I'm not worried about that. But I know some of you guys have said, hey, what about a live kind of feed or something like that? Live talk on that channel. And we can do that if you want to, be interesting because we can just talk about strictly about what we've seen on there, James, you said, Chris, man, the structure of the owl, or the actual photo of the owl in the video a few days ago looks like pretty big to me, and plenty of people in the comment section agree with you, what you're pointing out at the video. Well, and that's true. I mean, that's what it looks like to me. Now, whether it's something else, I don't know, but it actually had an uncanny look like an owl. Now, is it possible it was a statue, which I believe it was? Unless it was some kind of giant owl that they have on Mars, which is really weird. But that weird block that was just below it was completely bright. It's almost like that might have been tilted up, and it had maybe the owl was on top of it. Maybe it was some kind of platform. I don't know. Pure speculation on that. But it was just wild how that was pretty big, because when you pull back from that photo on that pan, or pull back from that pan, it would have to be pretty darn large. It'd be pretty big. So I think it was definitely a statue. And how big it was, I don't know. It's anybody's guess, right? Philip Wellington, you said the Bible says that knowledge would be increased. I know it has look at our computers. Oh yeah, knowledge is, like I said, I mean, the good thing about the internet can be used in a bad way and a good way, right? We all know that. There's a lot of bad sites out there, a lot of trash. And there's a lot of good stuff. You always hear that joke. If it's on the internet, it has to be true. Not necessarily, but there's a lot of good stuff out there, and I like a lot of it. A lot of people are trying to just show the truth, or what they believe to be the truth. Some people are just making junk up. I believe. Listen, I wouldn't be making these videos if I didn't think what we're seeing was intelligently made. It's as simple as that. I wouldn't do it. It's not worth my time, and I don't want to waste yours. I believe what we're seeing is actually intelligently made. And it's on either the moon or the other planets, whatever it may be. And I think that's absolutely true. Now, other than that, I wouldn't even make these. Now, some people just make it just because they do, get the views, get the money, and all this other crap. I'm not going to do it on, being false like that. I just don't want to do that. Yeah, Robin. Yeah, I've been doing that. You said download the LROC photos before they disappear. Yeah, because a lot of you guys have been seeing this now. Leatherneck Joe, I think you pointed this out as well. He's not on here. I don't believe he's on here, but he had said that, yeah, man, they're starting to really go through these photos, and they're starting to screw them bad. But like I said, Ken Johnson Sr. has his stuff up on Flickr, where you can get that stuff as well, as far as the moon photos. So I don't worry about that too much. And I've been downloading a lot of that. So, they can do what they want to do. But when we get the photos untouched, or at least I shouldn't say untouched, because every one of them's touched. But if you can get it to the point where it's the least amount of filtering done or manipulation, then the better you are, right? It's easy to see the stuff. Ellie Bidar, you put on there. Chris, you brought the Comet 67P to my attention, and after checking some official images, the object, Norma said that, probably a spaceship. Well, a lot of people have said that, and I've seen where, and I've done this a while back on 67P, where it looks like it has framework. It has framework exposed on it. Now, whether it's framework or something just sticking out of this rock, remains to be the question. But To me, it looks like a construct, like it's been put together and made to look like an asteroid or some kind of rock floating out in space. And I strongly believe that. And, they're going after a lot of these rocks out in space. For what reason? How many rocks are in, like, just floating out in space that they could target anywhere they want to? And yes, like, look at Bennu, the asteroid Bennu and all of these things like that. What's the point? Why that particular rock? Why it has like kind of like a diamond shape to it? Is there a certain reason why you're going after that stuff? Come on, guys. I don't believe that to be true at all. I think they're going after it for a reason. And in the time they're putting the spacecraft together, all the calculations they use to rendezvous with this thing, get up to it, either try to land on it or orbit around it, that's a big feat, man. That's not easy. So they're doing it for a reason. It might take 10 years to get to it, but yet they're doing it. Why? Octavital, you said, yeah, you can do lives on either one here. On one here, is nobody going to argue anything about that. Oh, yeah. You said, Eli Badari said, understanding camouflage being its strongest feature, that thing has a smaller craft flying near. Yeah. If you noticed that, it's got something. Was it something orbiting around that? I'm trying to remember what it was. He said, flying near to it, the first Wikipedia photo that comes up, just look at it with the magnifying glass. It looks like an aircraft carrier or something of some sort, rather. That whole thing screams intelligence. Oh, absolutely. Valerie, you're on board with that as well, I guess, right? Hackbarth, rather. Yes, you should do a chat on the new channel and talk about the moon. Daniel, you said they said the reason that the insects were so large millions of years ago was because there was more oxygen, and it would be interesting to see how much oxygen Mars had before whatever catastrophic or catastrophe happened. Yeah, I mean, it would be interesting. That's what I'm saying. It's got to do with when you stop and think about it. Is it, do they know how much was there? I don't think they did. They're just saying it was a lot like Earth. Did they know what the air pressure was or the atmospheric pressure was? Did they know how much oxygen? Did they know? We don't know. It was a lot like Earth. Well, that means squat. I mean, I can say, well, it had a lot more gravity. It had a lot more oxygen. Had less oxygen. I mean, we don't know. And I don't think they'll ever know. But what they do know, like I said, this is like a reconnaissance mission, man. They're going there to see stuff that's there from a past civilization that's been totally wiped out somehow. And there you go. Like I said, they're not going to spend millions upon $1 million, take all of these shots. I mean, even the Soviet Union tried. They tried. Everybody's trying to go to Mars back in the day. You're talking about, what was it? I think it was late 40s even it started, the early 50s. Right up to whenever time they were trying to get there, failed missions. Didn't even leave guys. They didn't even leave the platforms here on Earth, and they exploded on launch. And this happens a lot, with science and stuff like that, and rocketry and everything else. And so it wouldn't surprise me, just the shit that, like I said, just look up the missions to Mars. Just look it up. How many failed attempts there were? Why are we going there if there's nothing there to see? Well, we wanted to see if there was any life on the planet at one time. And I go with that idea. I totally agree with it. But when the photos tell a different story, right? There's things in here that just don't make any sense. So is that all they're looking at? It's just maybe microbial life? I don't think so. They're there. It's a recon mission. They're there to get all the information they can about what happened to that planet and what's there that they can get their hands on or have a look at. That's just my opinion. And I'm sure you guys agree with that. Maybe some of you guys have different ways to think of it, let me know. John Devon, you said, I have to get that, get in my mind about these vehicles being toys. New concept for me. Thanks, Chris. I like the idea. Next video, my mind will be even more open to possibilities. Yeah, because again, we don't know how big these so-called Martians were. We don't have any idea. I mean, most people say, well, I've seen some that are big and some much smaller, and I don't know how small. Some said it could be like within a few inches tall. You'd have a hard time wrapping your mind around that. At least I do. Now, is it true? I don't know. It could very well be. And because we've seen these little things, and if the size comparison or the sizes were correct, you've seen the rover, I showed you the pan, we went over to it and I said, guys, remember when I panned out? I said, this is the objects. Let's pan out. I went back till finally I got where the rover, the turret arm and the tool arm itself was right there. And you can see the distance from there. And I said, if you stood in front of this rover, because the rover itself on the top of the mass cam is only 7 feet tall. So if you stood next to that rover, you'd be pretty darn tall. And to walk over that thing's probably 15, 20 feet. These things were probably this big. They were like 6 to maybe 10 inches tops. And I don't think it was that long or that big. 6 to 8 inches tops. You can pick them up and fool with them. Now, are they toys or are they actual, actual objects these beings used? Well, then that opens up a whole bunch of possibilities, right? Now, what's true and what's not, I have no idea. Alien Tenno, yeah, you're reading my mind too. He said, well, folks, off to bed. I'm off to bed. Cheers for the entertainment and hearty discussions. Till next week. Alien Tenno, thanks for stopping by. I always appreciate it, man. You know that. I like you. I like everybody stops by. This is awesome. Pascal V5, I guess it would be V. Good evening. Did you see the video I sent you on Facebook from Pasito Dominican? What? From the structures on the moon? I'm not sure. He sent it on Facebook. I have to check that out, Pascal. I'm not sure. I will look it over, definitely. Say it. Ahmet. You said there can't be life on Mars. It's in my opinion. Well, I mean, you're entitled to your opinion. I mean, but if you look at NASA or even all of the space agencies around the world have stated that, and they all agree that Mars was like Earth. So it had much more oxygen. It still has a water cycle. It still has hot temperatures. There is methane being given off in the warmer temperatures. So there's at least microbial life, I believe. Now, whether that's true or not, I don't know. But there is something there living on that planet. And I think they're going to stop putting this out more and more. You're going to start to see more and more information, just drip, 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 disclosure information. So, again, you're entitled to your opinion, and I can appreciate that. In my opinion, though, I see much more. And from what I see in these photos, there was not only life like microbial, I think there was intelligent life on that planet. And I think a lot of people are starting to see that more and more because they're doing their own investigations, right? Bush Corey, thank you, sir, for your support. And you said smash that thumbs up button. Bam. Smash it hard. Valerie, you said, I think they are going to get technology for weaponizing because that's what we do. Yeah, it's that, and now a lot of people have said this, and I totally agree, that they're probably trying to figure out what happened to that planet, how the catastrophic event happened, and maybe we'll try to avoid it ourselves. Is it possible they're trying to find in that technology, wait a minute, how can we better our planet? It may not be always for really bad reasons, right? Of course, you know how the military is. If there's anything to gain that they had, military or anything of that sort, then they'll definitely grab it. So, yeah. But can you imagine if they are very small Martians? Well, there's a little cannon, a little tank. I don't know if they can use, how much technology do you think you can use in that? But if they were much larger, well, then you're right, right? Guru Data, 01, we are not alone since forever. I totally agree. I think there's been life since, even if we're the new kids on the block, so to speak, meaning we evolved, we became on this planet as well as Mars. We might have been one of the youngest solar systems out there. And like I said, if you believe in the Big Bang, if that's true, again, you have to envision dropping a pebble in a lake and how it expands. And if let's suppose that pebble is the actual beginning of our universe, well, you got these waves going outward. Well, what about the waves that are on the furthest? They're at the furthest where the planets have formed and life would have started on those planets first. If that being true, and we're more closer to the inside where life might have started, or this Big Bang, then we'd be the youngest kids on the block, wouldn't we? What do you guys think about that theory? I think so. Dr. Vital, thank you again for your support. And you put on there, will you do, I guess, a live feed on the other channel of live photo analysis with no post observation. Yeah, that we could probably do that too. I'm going to try to figure a way, and I know there's a way. I just haven't used it yet. With let me see something if I can figure it out here. Well, not that it matters. I mean, I could try to use my OBS and try to actually, I can just put photos on there to show you guys too. We might be doing that as well. Even if we just do a standard live feed for now and just get it kicked off, and then we'll go on from there. If you guys are on board with that, we can try to do that. And what I'll do is I'll give you guys the heads up when we'll start to do that, if you guys are okay and on board with it, right? But again, Octavital, thank you again for your support. Master King K, you said the solar system past is a little like the first movie, Star Wars. The ideal for the movie Star Wars is based on the truth. You have to remember that the people that live on these moons, planets, lived in peace for millions of years before the Great War broke out. And that's what I think. I think, again, I think if we're closer to the center of the universe, which sounds crazy, right? But because they go by red drift and how the planets or the universe is still expanding, if that's true, if you're on one of the closest waves, I'm going to use the term rings of waves coming from this center, then you'd be the youngest solar system compared to the ones on the outskirts, right? On the edge, if you want to call it the edge, or way out, then they would be so much more advanced, millions upon millions of years advanced compared to us. And this is the reason why you might be seeing these people literally jumping through, galaxies and shit, just jumping. And this is what we're seeing now. We're starting to see more and more of these UFOs or whatever the case is, or because we're seeing remnants of spaceships or whatever they were on the moon, Mars, just crazy stuff. And we're just now, how do we know the solar system wasn't teeming with life long before we evolved, or we're in our fifth, cycle, that our first cycle where we lived, when we lived here, we were teeming with life back and forth to Mars. And of course that died off. That might have died off when, Mars, that catastrophic event, something hit here at the same time. Maybe there's a cluster of these asteroids going through the solar system, just killed off the planet, mostly. And this is the reason why then we came back. Of course, another catastrophic event, so on and so forth. Now we're in the fifth cycle. Now, so how do we know that, again, this solar system is like old hats kind of thing? It's like, yeah, we used to live in that old neighborhood. We don't live there anymore. That was millions of years ago. But wait a minute, there's still life growing there. Wow, that's kind of cool. Let's go back and check that out. Now, again, pure speculation, but how do we know? It's just stuff you just run through your head and you just constantly try to think this stuff out. And it may not be true at all, but, how do we know? Robert, thanks for coming and commenting. He said, got to go, as I'm very, very late in feeding my daughter's cats. If I don't feed them, they'll start feeding on me. We'll smash the button on the way out as I close the live chat. Appreciate it there, Robert, for stopping in. Appreciate you. Bush Corey, you said Mars had a huge electrical scars, reactor, or advanced weapons. Could very well be. And whatever eradicated, the life on that planet could have, of course, could have done something, right? It's hard to tell how it was actually killed off, natural or otherwise. John Devon, you said, I drove through an old mining town in Arizona that when I see some spots on Mars, I think that I am looking at a Martian mining colony. I wouldn't say no to it. I mean, how do we know? Like I said, just some of the things we see in these, it just looks like either like structures all aligned with each other or things that have been blown apart. They look mechanical or just structural or whatever it may be. But yeah, I mean, I see the same thing, right? Oh, Phil, you're talking to, I know you're talking to Libby, but yeah, you said NASA says it's a selfie and they airbrushed out the rover's arm. They did. You can actually see where they literally took out the arm so you can see the ground around it and everything else, but they literally took that arm right out of there because I'm almost positive they took out the Molly cam on the turret arm. And so I literally looked back at the rover and of course they just took the arm out so you can see the whole rover and everything else. But yeah. They did, in fact, admit that, Libby. They actually have a description on the bottom of that. All right, guys, it's time to bounce. Metalhead, I didn't realize you were in there, man. Does anyone else, I'll just go ahead and answer, does anyone else here zoom into Mars photos and see a smaller civilization? I've done that where remember I had done that one with the Spirit rover, and it was that video. They showed like from Sol to Sol where the thing was navigating through rocks and stuff like that. And what looked like ledges and what looked like structures and everything else on these ledges. And it looked like it was going through this area, almost like it was like a little water canal, but now it's now dried up and it was just going through this. And like I said, you can see these ledges and you can see what look like these structures all over this stuff. So it makes you wonder, what that is, or what they were. I believe it may be true, right? Kenneth Lee, he said, yes, live analysis would be awesome. Justin T, you said, howdy, folks. Justin, if you're just getting in, sorry about that, because we're ready to kick this out of here. Been doing this for, almost 3 hours. So, yeah. Custom Tailored 1, something ended the life on Mars, no doubt about it. Octavio said, and then they went ahead and made the final turf one planet Earth with protection of the moon, ET, and a human base. Well, yeah, could very well be. James, you said, Chris, thanks for another great night again and a great week. Everybody have yourself a great week, and I'm glad everybody joined us as usual. You guys are awesome. I don't think there's a better community out there, to be truthful with you guys. And I'm being really truthful, man. I see a lot of these. I go to a lot of these hangouts, and some of them not so much. They just get crazy. And next, they're talking nasty to each other and everything else. I just, yeah. So thank you guys for being who you are and joining this. This is awesome. Thank you for all the support. You guys are awesome with that. And that's pretty much it. Everybody have yourself a good night and a good week coming up. Don't work too hard. I'll try not to as well. And like I said, I got the Mars one coming out as well as another moon. So make sure you do actually subscribe to the Lunar Anomalies and Beyond page. It's a new channel for all nothing but moon. And check that out. And like I said, I want to try to get more views on that because, people are like, how come you're not doing any more moon? Well, it's because we're all on the other channel. That's why I want you guys to bounce over there if you can and check it out. And I'm going to try to leave the links in all the videos that I do. So in other words, if I do the next Martian one, you'll see it in my pinned post at the top of the pin, at the top of the comment section. You'll see it. I'll leave that. I'll say, hey, guys, don't forget to subscribe to the new Lunar Anomalies and Beyond page, so on and so forth. So, check it out and definitely want to hit the notification bell as well once you subscribe to that channel. So make sure you do that so you can see all of the new stuff coming up. Anyway, guys, again, thanks. Awesome hangout as usual. You guys are the best. I couldn't ask for more better, subs and conversation, everything else. You guys are awesome. Anyway, guys, with that, I'm going to let you guys go. Rock and roll. You guys have yourself a good night and a good week. Peace.